Chapter 183. Shen Yu looked around. There were no ministers in the imperial study, only Shang Junlin was there. What is you looking at? Shang Junlin asked when he noticed Shen Yu's movements. Why is your majesty busy here alone? You didn't even prepare dinner? Shen Yu walked over and asked the palace servants to put the food on the small table. How did you know that I didn't prepare dinner? Did Meng Chang talk too much? Shang Junlin stood up and held Shen Yu's hand to sit beside him. Your majesty, please don't blame eunuch Meng. He was just worried about your health. No matter how busy your majesty is, you still need to eat. Eunuch Meng stepped forward, opened the food box, and took out the dishes inside. Even if your majesty punishes this slave will still tell Guijun. With you supporting you, you naturally dare to say anything. Shang Junlin was not really angry. The aroma of the food filled the air. Shen Yu put away the booklet in front of Shang Junlin. Your majesty, please eat first. I'm hungry. No one can starve you. Shang Junlin held Shen Yu's hand and stood up. Eunuch Meng quickly ordered the palace servants to clean up the place for the meal. The fire in the imperial study was not as strong as that in Yuzhong Palace. Shen Yu stayed for a while and barely warmed himself up. Shang Junlin held his slightly cold hand and ordered Meng Chang to heat up the fire. The dishes were laid out one by one. There were meat and vegetables. The aroma wafted through the air, making people hungry. I specially asked the kitchen to boil some soup. Your majesty, please have some. Shen Yu scooped a bowl of milky white soup and put it in front of Shang Junlin. Shang Junlin certainly would not refuse his kindness. After drinking the bowl of hot soup, his body warmed up from the inside out. Shang Junlin ate very quickly. Even though he was taking care of Shen Yu while eating, he still put down his bowl before Shen Yu. Shen Yu always liked to eat slowly. Seeing that the man finished eating, she was not in a hurry. Instead of approving the booklet, Shang Junlin waited until Shen Yu finished eating before leading him to sit in front of the imperial table. Your majesty, are you still busy with the matter of King Yu? Shen Yu glanced at the contents of the memorial. It was written by Sun Zhao, and it talked about the situation in Yuezhou. When the king of Yu raised his army, Yuezhou was in chaos for a while. Fortunately, Sun Zhao and his men arrived in time and suppressed the chaos in the shortest amount of time. King Yu had been in Yuezhou for many years and was deeply involved with the various forces of Yuezhou. Many of them were already following King Yu in secret. If they wanted to take back Yuezhou peacefully, they had to get rid of these forces first. This was Sun Zhao's main task. Things were progressing smoothly. The only thing that concerned people was that part of the King of Yu's forces disappeared from Yuezhou. These people should have been taken out of Yuezhou and met up with the King of Yu. Shen Yu put her finger on the edge of the memorial and said calmly, Shang Junlin. Yes, I asked Gu Huai to investigate. The team they took care of on the way came from Yuezhou. Other than that, there were a few other forces whose whereabouts were unknown. Gu Huai received a new task. He did not even celebrate the new year before he led his troops out of the capital. He needed to get rid of the remaining forces according to the results of the interrogation of the arrested people. Shen Yu, Your Majesty, now that you have arrested the people, who was the one behind the King of Yu all these years? That Mr. Tan was also following orders, right? After the King of Yu was arrested, Shen Yu learned from Shang Junlin about what happened to the King of Yu these days. No matter how he looked at it, that Mr. Tan did not seem to be the one who made the decision. Shang Junlin. Yes, the Ministry of Justice has been interrogating him these days. Mr. Tan knows a lot of information. According to the results of the interrogation, many of their people were arrested. However, they have not found out who the mastermind is. Shen Yu. Is it because they can't find out or? Shang Junlin rubbed the space between his eyebrows. It's because they can't find out the real identity of the mastermind. That person has never appeared in front of them. He gave them orders through the messengers. Those messengers are dressed in black and wear masks on their faces. They can't see their faces clearly. Shen Yu. This person hides very deeply and is very vigilant. There are so many people, but none of them have seen him before? Shang Junlin. Yes. Shen Yu. He doesn't show his true identity, but people are willing to work for him. I'm getting more and more curious about this person's identity. How do they usually address him? Shang Junlin. They call him His Excellency. Xinyu. To be able to gain the trust of the late emperor and hand over such a large force to him, he must at least be someone who was very active in the imperial court during the late emperor's time. He doesn't know much about the current imperial court. Your Majesty, have you checked the ministers who were more important during the late emperor's reign? Shang Junlin. I have. There is one who fits the description, but he passed away 10 years ago. The trail was cut short. They still had too little information at the moment. Xinyu didn't know about the existence of this force in his previous life, let alone know who was behind this force. Xinyu could only give up for the time being. Gu Huai's ability to take action was very strong. He led his soldiers and walked around Dahuan like ghosts, uprooting the forces lurking in the dark. The evidence of the King of Yu's rebellion was conclusive. He should be sentenced to death immediately. Considering that it was almost the new year, Shang Junlin moved the execution time back a little. The Ministry of Justice's prison was different from the dark prison. There were all kinds of criminals in it. The King of Yu was locked up alone in one place and was interrogated every day. His title was taken away, his surname was taken away, and his name was removed from the imperial family. Now he was no longer a noble prince, but a lowly sinner. Shang Junlin wanted to get some information from him. The interrogators knew that the King of Yu would never rise again, so they didn't hold back. In just a few days, the King of Yu was tortured beyond recognition. The man covered in blood curled up by the wall. Whenever there was a sound, he couldn't help but shrink inwards. His eyes were cloudy and his expression was timid. He didn't look like the King of Yu of the past at all. Every part of his body was in pain. Those were the wounds left by the torture. The executioners only needed to ensure that he didn't die. They couldn't be bothered to care about wounds that weren't fatal. The wounds were inflamed and festered. If it wasn't for the fact that it was winter, it would have been even more serious. The moonlight seeped in from the window above. The King of Yu raised his head and looked at the moonlight in a daze. It was cold and charming. He reached out his trembling hand to grab the moonlight, but he only grabbed air. The moon hung high in the sky. It was impossible for him to grab it. The King of Yu covered his face. His hoarse laughter overflowed through his fingers. After an unknown period of time, the embarrassed man leaning against the wall stopped moving. Your Majesty, the coronation ceremony is coming soon. Can you see if there are any changes in the process? An unfamiliar voice awakened the King of Yu's consciousness. He opened his eyes and found himself standing in a magnificent imperial palace. Countless people surrounded him, calling out, Your Majesty. In their hands, they held clothes and accessories that only an emperor was fit to wear. He opened his arms. The palace servants carefully put on the black robe that symbolized the emperor's identity. Red candles were lit in the hall. It was gray outside the hall. It was suffocating. Your Majesty, young Master Shen is here. Young Master Shen? Who was it? There was no need for him to ask. A thin young man in a light blue gown walked in slowly. Congratulations, Your Majesty. You got what you wanted. The King of Yu opened his eyes wide. He saw the appearance of the person who came. It was Xinyu, but he was different from the Xinyu in his impression. The Xinyu standing in front of him was older than he remembered. His facial features were fully developed. There was an indescribable temperament between his eyebrows, which made him more attractive. He called him Your Majesty. Was he calling him? The auspicious time has arrived. Your Majesty should ascend the throne. Everything that happened next was too beautiful to be real. He ascended the throne as the emperor surrounded by people, and became the real master of Dahuan. Everyone prostrated at his feet, including Xinyu. Xinyu seemed to admire him. The King of Yu saw affection in his eyes. He had seen such emotions in Xinyu's eyes before. But at that time he was not the one being looked at. He asked the people around him about the whereabouts of Shang Junlin. The answer he got was that Shang Junlin died a year ago with a bad reputation. This was the ending he wanted for Shang Junlin. All his wishes came true. On the dragon throne, he looked down at the officials prostrating at his feet, and Xinyu standing beside him. The smile on his face became bigger and bigger. Then he woke up. The sky was not bright yet. The moon was hidden in the clouds. He was trapped in the thick darkness and could not break free. For the next few days he would have the same dream after he fell asleep. The scenes in the dream became more and more real. It was so real that he did not want to wake up. The life in the dream was in stark contrast to the current situation. The king of you became more and more absent-minded. Later, the beauty in the dream became a mockery of his failure in reality. The more successful he was in the dream, the more he could not raise his head when he woke up. The king of you's abnormality could not be hidden from the officials who had been paying attention to him. Shang Junlin did not take it seriously at first. He only asked them not to kill the king of you before they found out the truth. Then he forgot about it. In the imperial study, the leader of the hidden dragon guards knelt on the ground respectfully and reported the information he had found. So, other than the king of you, who disguised himself to get close to him, the king of you did not have any contact with Gu Huai before he entered the palace? Yes. Shang Junlin tapped his fingers on the table. If that was the case, it did not match with Shen Yu's performance. Looking at Shen Yu's attitude, it did not seem like he had no contact with Gu Huai. There were many inexplicable abnormalities on Shen Yu's body, and he did not hide them. As his relationship with Shang Junlin became closer and closer, Shang Junlin increasingly felt that Shen Yu had many secrets. All kinds of thoughts flashed through his mind. Shang Junlin closed his eyes and said, "This matter ends here." He had a premonition that he would not find any useful information, even if he continued to investigate. After staying in the imperial study alone for an hour, Shang Junlin returned to Yuzhang Palace. There was nothing strange on his face. "Your Majesty, come quickly." Shen Yu smiled and greeted Shang Junlin. "I wrote some couplets and the character Fu. Your Majesty, please bring them to the imperial study to paste." "Okay." Shang Junlin smiled and walked over. He picked up the pen beside him and said, "You wrote one for me. I will also write one for you." Shen Yu wrote a lot and distributed some to the palace servants. He asked Mushi to send the rest to the concubine dowager. After all, she had helped Shang Junlin before. Shen Yu had a good impression of her. On the eve of the new year, the Minister of Justice asked for an audience. "Your Majesty, the criminal king of you wants to see you." These days, the Ministry of Justice used all kinds of methods to get information. However, King of Yu refused to tell Shang Junlin what he wanted to know the most. In the prison of the Ministry of Justice, King of Yu grabbed the door of his cell and stood up slowly. "Shang Junlin, you took everything from me." King of Yu's face was crazy and his voice was hoarse. "Shen Yu should have been mine. You took him from me. You felt it too, didn't you?" King of Yu looked at the man with an extraordinary aura and suddenly laughed. What was taken away will eventually return to the hands of its true owner. Chapter 184. "You are wrong." Shang Junlin looked at him condescendingly as if he was looking at an ant. "A you is a person, not an object that can be measured. I respect his every choice." But he would never let go. The laughter stopped abruptly. King Yu stared at Shang Junlin. "Do you believe these words yourself? You summoned the Shen family into the palace. Isn't it because of the fate they bear?" Shang Junlin suddenly reached out and grabbed King Yu's neck, lifting him up. "Don't think that everyone is as dirty as you. You believe in these things, but it doesn't mean that I also believe in them. If I really believed in fate, how could I sit in this position?" Cough cough. Because he was suffocating, King Yu's face was abnormally red. Other than coughing, he couldn't say a word. Shang Junlin frowned and released his hand. King Yu fell to the ground, clutching his neck and coughing violently. Eunuch Meng carefully handed over the handkerchief. Shang Junlin wiped his 5 fingers one by one, as if he was wiping away the contaminants. "You called me here just to tell me this? I met Shen Yu outside the palace. If I didn't get close to Shen Qingran and touch his bottom line, do you think he would choose to enter the palace in a fit of pique? If he really doesn't care about me at all, why would he act in a fit of pique? He even gave up his bright future to enter the palace?" Every word of King Yu was like a thorn in Shang Junlin's heart. The man's eyes deepened, rolling with unfathomable emotions. Eunuch Meng was close and could clearly feel the oppressive aura coming from the man's body. He couldn't help but secretly sweat. Would Prince Yu's words have a bad influence on His Majesty? Eunuch Ming knew better than anyone else how much Shang Junlin cared about Xinyu. The more you cared about someone, the more you couldn't tolerate a little betrayal, especially when Shang Junlin was the emperor. If he really thought that Xinyu had old feelings for King Yu. Eunuch Meng didn't dare to think about the consequences. Before leaving, Shang Junlin instructed the prison guards to entertain the Prince of Yu. Eunuch Meng followed behind him, trembling with fear. He could feel that His Majesty was in a bad mood. No matter what he said, it was impossible for him to not hold any grudges in his heart. Just as Eunuch Meng was about to say a few words of advice, he heard Shang Junlin say in a very low voice, "If we kill the king of Yu, will you be unhappy?" Eunuch Meng was stunned. He swallowed the words he was about to say. Things seemed to be a little different from what he had expected. Shang Junlin only said this one sentence. He didn't expect anyone to answer him. On the way back to the palace, he remained silent. No one knew what he was thinking. Suddenly, Shang Junlin said, "Let's go to the secret prison." Eunuch Meng did not dare to disobey and hurriedly ordered the carriage to turn around. When they arrived at the secret prison, Eunuch Meng subconsciously followed them but was stopped by Shang Junlin. "You stay here. I will go in alone." Eunuch Meng didn't know why Shang Junlin wanted to go to the secret prison at this time, but he couldn't disobey Shang Junlin's orders. He could only stand outside and wait. Shang Junlin's state was obviously not right. He was worried that something had happened and anxiously paced back and forth. After some time, Shang Junlin came out with a cold aura. Eunuch Meng greeted him. "Your Majesty?" "Return to the palace." This sentence seemed to have exhausted all the man's strength. On the way back to the palace, there was silence. Eunuch Meng didn't know what happened to Shang Junlin in the secret prison. He only felt that Shang Junlin's aura was even colder when he came out of the secret prison. The moon was dark and the wind was strong. The night sky was dotted with stars. The cold wind was bone-chilling and penetrated into the marrow. Yuzhong Palace was brightly lit and lively. Xinyu sat on the soft couch and watched Mu Shi instruct the young eunuchs to paste the written couplets and the word fortune. The clever palace maids cut many window flowers and pasted them on the window. Out of the corner of his eyes, Xinyu glanced at the person outside the room. He stood up and walked out. "Your Majesty, why don't you come in?" The person standing outside was Shang Junlin. Shang Junlin was still wearing a black robe. Xinyu rarely saw him wearing other colors. When he got closer, he could feel the coldness from the man. Xinyu reached out and held Shang Junlin's hand that was hanging by his side. He was slightly surprised. The man's hand was very cold. In Xinyu's memory, Shang Junlin's hand had always been warm. When the weather was cold, he would wrap his hand in his palm and slowly warm it. "Your Majesty, how long have you been standing outside? Your hand is cold. Come in and warm it up." Xinyu pulled Shang Junlin's hand and walked into the room. The man stood in the shadows. Xinyu couldn't see the expression on his face. He only felt that Shang Junlin was unusually quiet today. Shang Junlin followed Xinyu into the room. Xinyu pushed Shang Junlin to sit on the soft couch. He ordered Mu Shi to bring hot tea to the man's mouth. "Your Majesty, drink some to warm your body." Shang Junlin stared at Xinyu without blinking. Xinyu moved the cup in his hand forward. His long eyelashes drooped. The man drank the water in the cup with Xinyu's hand. Xinyu took the empty cup and turned around. He wanted to put the cup on a small table. Before he leaned over, he found that his sleeve was pulled. He turned around and saw Shang Junlin holding his sleeve with one hand and speaking for the first time today. "Don't go." Xinyu looked at the distance between himself and the man who was stubbornly holding his sleeve. He sat back helplessly. Mu Shi came over and took the cup in Xinyu's hand. Xinyu finally realized that something was wrong with Shang Junlin. Xinyu reached out and held Shang Junlin's face. "Your Majesty, what happened? Why do you look so distracted?" He knew that Shang Junlin was very busy recently, but no matter how busy he was, he shouldn't be like today. He looked like he was in a daze. He stared at Shang Junlin's eyes. His figure was clearly reflected in the man's dark eyes. Suddenly, the man reached out and wrapped his arms around his waist, pressing him tightly into his arms. I went to see Prince Yu today. Why did your majesty go to see him? Seeing that Shen Yu's tone was normal, Shang Junlin's heart calmed down a little. In a place where Shen Yu couldn't see, his eyes showed a complicated expression. He said something to me. He said that you chose to enter the palace because you were angry with him. When he said this, Shang Junlin didn't know what he was thinking. Maybe he was thinking about something, or maybe he wasn't thinking about anything. He originally wanted to hide this matter in his heart, and never say it out loud. No matter why Shen Yu entered the palace, it was fine as long as he had him in his heart. He didn't participate in Shen Yu's previous life, and he didn't have the right to care about it. He thought that he could do it, but at this moment, he found that he couldn't. Whether it was before or after he met Shen Yu, he couldn't ignore everything that happened to him. He longed for an answer, but he was also afraid of getting an answer. He told himself over and over again that he didn't have the time to participate in the past. He shouldn't take it to heart. But Prince Yu's words were like gangrene attached to the bone. The more he didn't want to care about it, the more it kept echoing in his mind. He asked himself, can I really not care about it? The answer was no. He couldn't. He didn't blame Shen Yu for anything. He only hated Prince Yu for deliberately getting close to Shen Yu for a maxim. Shen Yu felt a strong sense of uneasiness from Shang Junlin. He wanted to look up at him, but he was held tightly in his arms. He could only maintain this posture. After a deep sigh, Shen Yu put his hands around the man's thin waist. Your Majesty, why do you care about what Prince Yu said? He is now a prisoner. He knows that he can't change the situation. What he said is nothing more than to make your Majesty unhappy. When I entered the palace, I did have a little relationship with Prince Yu. Hiss. The man's arms suddenly tightened, and a pain came from his waist. Shen Yu patted his back and comforted him. Listen to me first. The man's arms loosened a little, but he still confined Shen Yu, not giving him any chance to leave. Shen Yu didn't care and continued. Although it was related to Prince Yu, it was different from what he said. If I was angry, I had thousands of ways. Why did I choose to enter the palace, which was the most unpleasant way? I entered the palace for your Majesty. I heard a lot about your Majesty from others. In fact, I wanted to see what your Majesty was like. If I wasn't detained in the palace by Count Jinbei, maybe I could have seen your Majesty long ago. Shen Yu said half-jokingly. If I saw your Majesty first, there would be no Prince Yu. Every part of your Majesty is in my heart. The heavy fog in Shang Junlin's heart dispersed with Shen Yu's words. He lowered his head and rubbed Shen Yu's face. As for Prince Yu, he was really annoying. He thought that I didn't know anything and pretended to appear in front of me. I only felt that it was fake and didn't want to see him act at all. Your Majesty should have investigated the matter between me and Prince Yu. When I was with him, I was always cold. After knowing his true identity, I thought that entering the palace was a good way to get rid of him. Shen Yu didn't lie. Before his rebirth, he didn't know the true identity of Prince Yu, but this matter couldn't be verified. After his rebirth, he didn't want to have any entanglement with Prince Yu, so he simply chose a path that was completely different from his previous life. Didn't Prince Yu like Shen Qingran? He would help them. Your Majesty, don't think too much because of Prince Yu's words. If your Majesty wants to know about me, you can ask me directly. The closer they got, the more Shen Yu felt Shang Junlin's uneasiness. He didn't know why Shang Junlin was uneasy, but he was willing to do his best to make him feel at ease. Shang Junlin quietly hugged the person in his arms. He wished that time could stop at this moment forever. You will stay by my side forever, right? As his voice fell, a kiss was printed on her forehead. If I don't stay by your Majesty's side, where else can I go? Shang Junlin's arms loosened a little. Shen Yu struggled to free himself from the man's arms. He hooked the man's neck and forced him to lower his head. He pressed his forehead against his. I have to clear my name. I really don't like Prince Yu. No matter in the past, present, or future, I only like your Majesty. After saying that, he kissed the lips that were inches away. There are some things that I won't do with him if I don't really like him. Maybe Prince Yu said something to your Majesty, but your Majesty, don't believe him. If it was only Prince Yu, Shang Junlin naturally wouldn't care as much as he did now. What really made him unable to let go was the words of the person he met in the secret prison. He said that Xinyu was destined to be on Prince Yu's side. Her fate was set and couldn't be changed. Even if the process was different roads led to the same destination. At that moment, Shang Junlin's desire to kill Prince Yu reached its peak. Xinyu's initiative dispelled the uneasiness in Shang Junlin's heart. He hugged Xinyu, turned the tables and fiercely kissed back. Chapter 185. This time, Xinyu was unusually docile and proactive. Shang Junlin's movements were also very slow. Everything was so slow that it became a kind of torture. With every step, Shang Junlin would ask Xinyu how she felt. At first, Xinyu enjoyed it very much, but after a few times she felt like she was about to collapse. "Don't worry about me. Don't ask me. Do whatever you want." It was like a ferocious beast had opened its cage. A ferocious beast was still a ferocious beast. No matter how obedient she pretended to be, she couldn't change her nature. After everything was over, Xinyu collapsed on the soft bed. She didn't want to move a single finger. She looked up at the man who was tidying up the soft bed. As expected, she saw satisfaction on the man's face. Xinyu narrowed her eyes. She had an illusion that she had been cheated. She grabbed the man's lapel and pulled him over. "What's wrong? Are you not feeling well?" Xinyu saw the nervousness in the man's eyes. She slowly let go of his hand. Forget it. She couldn't blame others for the choice she made. Shang Junlin called for hot water and carefully wiped Xinyu clean. Then he helped her change into clean clothes. The dirty clothes were taken away by the palace servants. The soft bed was also changed into clean bedding. After cleaning, Xinyu was carried to the bed. Shang Junlin hugged her and asked softly, do you want to eat?" Xinyu silently calculated the time and said, "No need." It was already past Xinyu's usual bedtime. Xinyu lay down for a while and found that she couldn't fall asleep. She turned her head and looked at Shang Junlin. "Your Majesty also didn't sleep?" Under the quilt, Shang Junlin's hand was around Xinyu's waist. Xinyu was used to sleeping in a man's arms. She was not used to sleeping alone. Last time, after Shang Junlin annoyed her, she was driven to sleep alone on a small bed for a few days. Later, because Xinyu couldn't stand it anymore, the punishment ended early. "I want to see more of you." Shang Junlin was not sleepy at all. What happened today was like a thorn in his heart that could not be removed or ignored. Xinyu stretched out her hand from the quilt and covered the man's eyes. "Sleep. What your Majesty is worried about will not happen." The next day, when Xinyu woke up, Shang Junlin was still not there. Mushi combed his hair and tidied his clothes. Xinyu looked at the clean and tidy soft bed and asked, "Do you know where His Majesty went yesterday?" This servant heard eunuch Meng mention that His Majesty went to see the king of Yu. On the way back, he also went to the secret prison. Dark prison. Wasn't Mr. Zhu the one who had said, "If you obtain the Chen family, you obtain the world"? Locked up in a secret prison? Was Shang Junlin's abnormal behavior yesterday because of him? Shang Junlin's whereabouts would not be hidden from Xinyu. After asking around, Xinyu could roughly determine where Shang Junlin's abnormality came from. What did Mr. Zhu and Shang Junlin talk about? Xinyu was a little concerned. The world was big and full of strange things. Xinyu never thought that Mr. Zhu was a simple swindler. He must know something. After all, if he didn't betray the king of Yu in his previous life, the king of Yu would have been able to ascend to the throne. If he wanted to know what happened to Shang Junlin, the fastest way was to ask eunuch Meng, who had always been by his side. Xinyu called Mushi and asked her to invite eunuch Meng for a private chat. If it was someone else who wanted to inquire about the emperor's whereabouts, eunuch Meng would definitely refuse. However, this person was Xinyu, the emperor's most cherished person. He hesitated for a moment, but still took the time to meet Xinyu alone. "Eunuch Meng, you must know why I asked you to come here. I'll get straight to the point. What did the king of Yu and the emperor say yesterday?" Eunuch Meng told him in detail what he had heard and carefully glanced at Xinyu's expression. Xinyu's expression didn't reveal anything. Eunuch Meng had been by Shang Junlin's side for a long time and knew that Xinyu was a person who quietly did great things. He dared to tell Xinyu because he had seen how Xinyu usually interacted with Shang Junlin. He knew that Shang Junlin didn't have any feelings for Shang Junlin. He didn't want the two to have any unnecessary misunderstandings because of the King of You. I know. Thank you, Eunuch Meng. Xinyu put down the teacup in his hand. The teacup and the table made a crisp sound. Your Highness, I'll say something that shouldn't be said here. I've seen the relationship between you and the Emperor. The King of You was obviously provoked. His words can't be taken seriously. However, the person involved can't see clearly. Only the Emperor himself knows what is in his heart. I'm telling you this because I hope that you and the Emperor can always be harmonious. Eunuch Meng's meaning was very clear. No matter whether the King of Yu's words were true or false, as long as the Emperor believed that it was false, it would be fine. At the same time, he also hoped that Xinyu could solve the estrangement in the Emperor's heart as soon as possible. Only in this way could the relationship last long. Eunuch Meng had been in the palace for a long time. He knew a thing or two about the Emperor's temperament. He knew that once the seed of doubt was planted, it wouldn't be so easy to remove it. He watched Shang Junlin get to where he was today step by step. It wasn't easy for him to have Xinyu by his side, who was also good for him. He didn't want anyone to obstruct them and take Xinyu away from him. Xinyu felt that Eunuch Meng was on his side from his attitude. He was quite emotional. It was very good that Shang Junlin had someone who was wholeheartedly considerate of him. I understand Eunuch Meng's words. Rest assured, Eunuch Meng. His Majesty is the person I chose. I naturally won't allow anyone to sow discord between us. No matter what the purpose is, I won't allow anyone to do so. As for the King of You, he's just a grasshopper after autumn. Even if he can jump, how long can he jump? Xinyu's words made Eunuch Meng calm down. He didn't explain whether there was such a thing between him and the King of You, but the meaning of his words was very clear. He didn't put the King of You in his eyes at all. Since he didn't put the King of You in his eyes, naturally, the future thing that the King of You said wouldn't happen. As for what had happened in the past, even if it was true, so what? Who hadn't been blind when they were young? Moreover, he still remembered that before Guijun entered the palace, the hidden dragon guards had presented a secret report that Guijun looked at the King of You more, because he somewhat resembled His Majesty. Now that His Majesty was within reach, and Guijun and His Majesty's relationship was deepening day by day, a mere King of You was nothing. After making a trip to Xinyu's side, Eunuch Meng relaxed a little. As long as the two masters were willing to communicate well, no matter what other people wanted to do, it would be impossible to succeed. Young master, will His Majesty misunderstand you because of the words of the King of You? After hearing Eunuch Meng's words, Mushi couldn't hide her worry. No. Young master, you can't be careless. Seeing that Xinyu didn't care, Mushi was anxious. It's said in the stories that many times, because it wasn't resolved in time, it led to deeper misunderstandings and eventually became irreconcilable conflicts. The stories are just stories. I've already told His Majesty about this matter. His Majesty is very observant and won't misunderstand because of a few words of the King of You. Young master, don't underestimate a few words. The more involved you are, the more you can't understand. Perhaps His Majesty is observant in other matters, but it's not certain when it comes to you. Why? Because His Majesty loves you. People who fall in love will always worry about gains and losses. Even if they know it's fake and can't be trusted, it's very difficult to truly not care. Mushi's words were clear and logical. Mushi knows so much. Do you have someone you like? Xinyu raised his eyebrows. If you do, I'll definitely hold a grand wedding for you and let you get married grandly. Young master, don't make fun of this servant. This servant doesn't have anyone she likes and doesn't plan on getting married. Young master, you promised this servant that you would always let this servant serve you by your side. This servant knows so much because I've read too many stories. Mushi was a little shy as she spoke. Xinyu liked reading stories. Shang Junlin arranged for palace servants to go out of the palace every month to buy all kinds of stories for him. Mushi and her close friends would sometimes ask the palace servants to buy some stories for them. She was the head palace maid of Yuzhong Palace, so the palace servants naturally wouldn't refuse her request. Mushi stuttered and told Xinyu about how she had asked someone to buy stories. She anxiously waited for Xinyu to deal with her. Xinyu looked at her with amusement. Why are you looking at me like that? Your young master isn't so stingy that he won't even let you read stories. There's no prohibition in the palace against reading stories. Mushi breathed a sigh of relief. She wasn't afraid that Xinyu would punish her. She was just worried about the relationship between Xinyu and His Majesty. As Xinyu's maidservant, she naturally didn't want her young master to be wronged because of a few words from Prince Yu. The northern desert fell into civil strife. Dahuan naturally wouldn't let go of such a good opportunity. The spies buried in the northern desert began to take action, stirring up the water even more. The northern desert army didn't stay idle either. They took advantage of the chaos to bite the northern desert. Sometimes they disguised themselves as one of the forces to harass the other forces. With foreign enemies spying on them, the northern desert didn't unite, but became even more chaotic. In the imperial study, Xinyu came to eat with Shang Junlin with a food box. Since last time, if Shang Junlin was busy, Xinyu would bring food to eat with him. Shang Junlin couldn't wait to be with Xinyu all day long. Naturally, he wouldn't object. If Xinyu hadn't refused to stay in the imperial study when ministers came, Shang Junlin would have prepared a soft couch for him in the imperial study. It was only a few days before the new year. In previous years, the imperial court would have been closed at this time. However, this year's situation was special. On one hand, there was the matter of the northern desert. On the other hand, there was the matter of Prince Yu. The ministers had to deal with it together. After the meal, Xinyu stayed for a while. He saw the booklet on the imperial table. It talked about the matter of the northern desert. Xinyu picked up the booklet. After reading it, he said, "The internal strife will greatly consume the strength of the northern desert. Your Majesty, do you want to take advantage of the situation to do something? It's a little difficult to completely conquer the northern desert. But if the internal strife can last a little longer, maybe we can give it a try." Shang Junlin came over and hugged Xinyu from behind. "How many people does your Majesty have in the northern desert?" Xinyu tapped on the booklet. "What does you want to do? If we can't take down the northern desert in one fell swoop, we might as well choose someone who is easier to control to become the king of the northern desert. Then we can plan slowly. It was certainly better to have a more peaceful way than a war that was a waste of manpower and money." Xinyu turned around and put his hands behind his back. He leaned back slightly and looked straight into Shang Junlin's eyes. "This is a very good opportunity. Now the northern desert is in a mess. There won't be a result in a short period of time. Your Majesty, why don't you wait a little longer? When they are almost exhausted, you can spread the news that you are willing to help them and enter the northern desert in the name of assistance. If the people who seek help are tactful, they can make a peace agreement first. If not, the Dahuan army has already entered the northern desert. It will be much easier to do something then." Shang Junlin put his hands behind Xinyu's back and slowly approached him. The distance between them was getting closer and closer. They could hear each other's breathing. The tips of their noses touched. The man's voice was slightly hoarse. For a moment, I almost thought that Zhu Wang's words were true. Chapter 186. Why do you say so, Your Majesty? Xinyu was puzzled. Shang Junlin said in a low and magnetic voice, "It's not because of some illusory fate. It's just because of a you. If you can get a you's help, you will be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort. I'm not as magical as Your Majesty says." Xinyu smiled. Shang Junlin stood up straight and picked up Xinyu. "You don't belittle yourself. Who do you think should be sent to the northern desert?" Since they were going to do something in the northern desert, the other party would definitely not act according to their plan. They had to send someone who could play a role to stir up disputes, lead disputes, and firmly control the leading power in their own hands. Xinyu went through the information of the officials in the imperial court in his mind. After more than a year, his understanding of the imperial court had deepened. Because he occasionally helped Shang Junlin approve memorials, he knew a lot about the officials in the imperial court. "I think the person I choose may be a bit risky. Do you have a suitable person in mind, Your Majesty?" Xinyu sat on a chair beside him. Fang Jun is very suitable. But the matter in Subei is too well known in the northern desert. Now that he has entered the cabinet, it's not appropriate for him to do this kind of thing. It's better to choose someone who is not well known in the imperial court. It's easier to disguise. Shang Junlin also sat down. Shen Yu nodded. The more obscure the person was, the less likely it would arouse the vigilance of the northern desert. Shen Yu, Your Majesty, what do you think of Jiang Huiqing? Shang Junlin. I just sent him to take over Lin Yuan. If he enters the northern desert, won't it arouse the suspicion of the northern desert people? Shen Yu. Of course not in the identity of Jiang Huiqing. Your Majesty, have you forgotten that he and He Qingyu went deep into the northern desert in disguise? Shang Junlin. You wants Jiang Huiqing to go to the northern desert with a new identity? This matter seemed insignificant, but it had a huge impact. If they did it well, they would be able to make the greatest contribution in the shortest amount of time. If they didn't do it well, they might even lose their lives and implicate De Huan. Thus, they had to be very careful when choosing the people to carry out the mission. Lin Yuan has already been incorporated into the Great Huan Empire's territory. Your Majesty needs to send an official to take over as soon as possible. Your Majesty can first find someone to test if Jiang Huiqing is up to the task. Shen Yu said this not because of his friendship with Jiang Huiqing. In his previous life, Jiang Huiqing worked under him, so he knew his ability. Although Jiang Huiqing in this life was younger than in his previous life, his intelligence was not inferior. Looking at the entire imperial court, there was no other person more suitable than Jiang Huiqing. Fang Jun, as Shang Junlin said, was indeed suitable, but that was before the trip to Subei. After the incident in Subei, the northern desert people would only hate Fang Jun to the bone. If they sent Fang Jun, according to his style of doing things, the risk of being exposed was too high. Jiang Huiqing was different. When he first entered the imperial court, if he was not in the Hanlin Academy, he was working under the prime minister. Later, when he came to Subei, he also disguised his identity and went deep into the northern desert people's inner circle with He Qingyu. He did not really do anything with the identity of Jiang Huiqing. No matter how the northern desert people investigated, they could not find him based on these bits and pieces. As long as he was careful enough, the risk of being exposed was not high. Shang Junlin seriously considered Shen Yu's suggestion. That night, he summoned the Prime Minister and Fang Jun to the Imperial Study to discuss. Jiang Huiqing worked under the Prime Minister for a while, so the Prime Minister knew him well. After listening to Shang Junlin's words, the Prime Minister pondered for a moment. I think that this plan is feasible. Jiang Huiqing is reliable. He looks like he is not scheming, but in fact he does everything well. What you said is very reasonable. His biggest advantage is that he does not have to worry about being recognized by the northern desert people because of his style of doing things. This will greatly increase the success rate of his plan. Fang Jun and Jiang Huiqing had worked together for a while. He Qingyu believed that in time, these two young people would definitely become the new pillars of De Huan. Although it was dangerous to go to the northern desert, risks were often accompanied by opportunities. This was a very good opportunity for Jiang Huiqing. Fang Jun also agreed to let Jiang Huiqing do this. The three of them discussed until late at night, and finally decided on a preliminary plan. The next morning, the hidden dragon guards brought the secret order to Subei. Shang Junlin did not publicize this matter. The more people who knew about it, the more danger Jiang Huiqing would be in. Other than the Prime Minister and Fang Jun, no one else in the imperial court knew about Shang Junlin's plan. Since Jiang Huiqing was going to the northern desert, the management of Lin Yuan was vacant. During the morning assembly, Shang Junlin brought up this matter for discussion. Lin Yuan would become the place where De Huan specialized in rearing war horses. Shang Junlin placed great importance on this. The imperial court officials knew that Shang Junlin had always placed great importance on matters related to the military, so they did not dare to be careless. In the end, an official who was reliable and had done research in this area was chosen to go to Lin Yuan. There were 2 assistant officials accompanying him. After settling the matters in Lin Yuan, they could start rearing war horses. After settling these matters, There were less than 7 days left before the new year. Shang Junlin announced that he would stop writing, and all the unimportant matters in the imperial court were suspended. The officials who had been busy for a year finally had a short break. During this time in the past, Shang Junlin did not need to deal with official matters. There was no one in the palace that he cared about, so he would stay outside the palace alone for a few days. After Xinyu entered the palace, for some reason, Shang Junlin did not leave Xinyu alone in the palace. Instead, Shang Junlin spent the entire new year with Xinyu. If this was the case in the first year, it would not change this year. After the morning assembly was no longer needed, Shang Junlin simply sent all the matters to Yuzhong Palace. If it was not for Shenyu's refusal, he would even choose to meet the officials in Yuzhong Palace. Even though there was no need to attend the morning assembly, Dahuan was such a big country that it was impossible for Shang Junlin to just sit back and do nothing. Some of the important matters that required Shang Junlin's approval still had to be dealt with. As Shang Junlin spent more time in Yuzhong Palace, he spent more time with Xinyu. When Xinyu woke up in the morning, he was no longer the only one in bed. Sometimes, when it was late, Shang Junlin would hug Xinyu until he woke up. Sometimes, when Xinyu did not allow it, Shang Junlin would wake up early the next morning to practice his swordsmanship. This morning, Xinyu suddenly woke up. There was no familiar warmth beside him. He touched the bed, and the place where he should have been lying was cold. His sleepiness was mostly gone. Xinyu propped himself up and sat up. His black hair fell over his shoulders. His inner clothes slid open with his movements, revealing his porcelain white skin. His snow-like skin was covered with red plum blossoms. The ancient seal had not disappeared, but new marks were added. A chill seeped into his collar. Xinyu gathered his clothes and called out, "Mushi." Hearing the commotion, Mushi hurried in. "Why are you awake so early today?" "Bring me my clothes. I can't sleep. Where is His Majesty?" Mushi brought the clothes over and Xinyu put them on one by one. "His Majesty is practicing his swordsmanship in the courtyard. Do you want to take a look?" Xinyu's interest was piqued. He had been in the palace for so long. When he woke up in the morning, Shang Junlin was already busy for half a day. How could he have the chance to see him practice in the morning? Xinyu put on a fox fur cloak and went to the courtyard. It was snowing outside. Mushi wanted to hold an umbrella for Xinyu, but Xinyu refused. He took the umbrella and walked to the courtyard alone. In the middle of the courtyard, a man dressed in black was holding a long sword. As he moved, the sound of the sword rang out. Xinyu held the umbrella and stood at a place where he could see clearly, but would not disturb the man. He watched quietly. It was the first time he saw Shang Junlin in such a state. His hair was tied up high and the black cloak wrapped around the man's muscular body. His aura was sharp and his eyes were filled with determination. The man's movements were swift and fierce. His every move carried an irresistible momentum. In the vast expanse of white snow, only the man could catch Xinyu's attention. Xinyu did not disturb him. The man kept his sword and walked toward Xinyu. "Why did you come out?" Shang Junlin walked to Xinyu and helped him fix the collar of his fox fur cloak. Xinyu stretched his arm forward and covered the top of the man's head. "I heard from Mushi that His Majesty is practicing his swordsmanship, so I came out to take a look." The hand holding the umbrella was exposed and was frozen red. Shang Junlin frowned and wanted to put the hand in his arms to warm it up. However, when he saw the snow on his body, he gave up the idea. He reached out and took Xinyu's umbrella. "I'll hold it." Xinyu's hand was a little frozen. When he heard this, he let go of his hand and hugged the hot water woman in his arms. Shang Junlin held the umbrella handle and firmly fixed the umbrella above their heads. "Isn't His Majesty cold?" Xinyu looked at the man in thin clothes and asked. Shang Junlin shook his head. "I'm used to it. His Majesty is still the best. If it were me, I wouldn't be able to stand it." Xinyu looked at Shang Junlin and then looked at himself, who was wrapped up like a ball. The two of them seemed to be in different seasons. Eunuch Meng brought the cloak over. Shang Junlin was holding the umbrella, so it was inconvenient for him to move. Xinyu took the cloak and measured it on Shang Junlin's shoulder. Shang Junlin was too tall, so it was inconvenient for him to move. Xinyu patted his shoulder. "His Majesty, squat down a little." Shang Junlin squatted down slightly. Shin Yu put the cloak on him and carefully tied the collar. His Majesty, it's better for you to take a hot bath to prevent the cold from entering your body. Eunuch Meng received the order, and hurriedly asked someone to prepare hot water. Shin Yu knew that Shang Junlin practiced swordsmanship every day. However, this was the first time he saw it with his own eyes. Eunuch Meng took the sword away. Shin Yu only glanced at it briefly. It was a long sword that was completely black. The blade was cold and the hilt was engraved with patterns. Unfortunately, it was too fast, so Shin Yu didn't see what was engraved. When the two of them arrived at the bedchamber, the hot water was already prepared. Shang Junlin had a lot of snow on his body. After entering the room, Shin Yu untied his cloak and took the umbrella from his hand. His Majesty, go take a bath. Seeing that Shang Junlin was soaking in the hot water, Shin Yu asked Mushi to boil a bowl of ginger water. Shang Junlin changed into clean clothes and came out. Mushi also came in with the ginger water. His Majesty, drink it quickly. I don't need this. In the end, Shang Junlin couldn't resist Shin Yu and drank the entire bowl. Your Majesty should also take care of your body. Otherwise, I will be worried. Shin Yu put the empty bowl aside and walked behind Shang Junlin to dry his hair. He rarely did this kind of thing, so it wasn't very smooth. After a long time, he finally dried Shang Junlin's hair until it was half dry. Shang Junlin grabbed Shin Yu's arm and pulled him into his arms. Why are you so virtuous today? Shin Yu's long black hair slid down his shoulders and fell on Shin Yu's clothes. It then went down and intertwined with his hair. Shin Yu looked up at him. His eyes were shining. His Majesty doesn't like it? Of course I like it. The distance between the two of them was getting closer and closer. Shin Yu slowly closed his eyes. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Eunuch Meng's slightly anxious voice sounded from outside the door. Your Majesty, the Imperial Army found a large number of suspicious people outside the capital. The purpose of these people is unknown. Your Majesty, please make a decision. Chapter 187. Shin Yu sat up from Shang Junlin's arms. The charming atmosphere disappeared in an instant because of this sentence. He looked at Shang Junlin with a little confusion in his eyes. Why is there still someone here? Shang Junlin helped Shin Yu to stand up. He stood up and tidied his clothes. I'll go and see. Eunuch Meng was waiting outside. Shang Junlin changed his clothes and walked out. What happened? The leader of the Imperial Guards is already waiting for your Majesty outside. Your Majesty, this way please. Eunuch Meng didn't know the details, but he knew that this matter couldn't be delayed. He hurriedly led the way for Shang Junlin. It was still morning. Usually, Shin Yu wouldn't even get up at this time. After Shang Junlin left, he couldn't sleep, so he asked Mushi to order breakfast. When he was eating alone, Shin Yu ate faster than usual. He wasn't picky about food, so he casually ate something to fill his stomach. The snow outside had stopped. Shang Junlin didn't come back. It seemed that this matter wasn't small. Mushi, go and ask the people outside if there are any abnormalities in the capital recently. Yes. After a year of training, the people Shin Yu raised in the village were now able to take charge of things independently. It was easy for them to find some information that wasn't deliberately concealed. While waiting for the news, Shin Yu had nothing to do. He simply went to the small study room, took out a pen and paper, and wrote down what would happen in the future based on his impressions from his previous life. Events were listed one by one on the paper. Shin Yu pressed his fingers against his forehead, trying to find something that could be related to today's matter. After a long time, Shin Yu folded the paper and put it in the candlelight to burn it bit by bit. Shin Yu didn't want to keep this kind of thing that was related to the future. When he came out of the small study room, it was already noon. The weather was clear, and the sun was high in the sky, bringing a trace of warmth to the cold winter. Shin Yu walked into the sunlight and narrowed his eyes slightly. Thinking about it carefully, today's incident was not sudden. After King Yu was captured, Shang Junlin kept him locked up in prison without dealing with him. His purpose was to fish out all the forces behind King Yu. Although they had caught many forces behind King Yu, they still had no clue about the leader. There had to be someone controlling such a huge faction. As long as they did not find the controller, they would not be able to feel at ease. It was very likely that these factions that suddenly appeared outside the capital were here for King Yu. After Shang Junlin came back, Xin Yu's guess was confirmed. These people's whereabouts are uncertain, as if they had suddenly appeared. However, the imperial army still found some similarities between them and the people from before. Now that the King of Yu is locked up in the prison of the Ministry of Justice, the traces of these people's activities revolve around the prison. Their target is most likely the King of Yu. Shang Junlin took off his cloak and sat down beside Shen Yu. Yu is playing chess by himself? In front of Shen Yu, there was a chessboard. On the chessboard, the black and white pieces were fighting fiercely. If either side was careless, they would lose by one piece. Shen Yu put down a white piece, and the white piece instantly suppressed the black piece with an absolute advantage. Shen Yu did not put down a black piece again. Instead, he looked at the chessboard and asked, "Your Majesty, who do you think will win?" Looking at the situation, the white piece is very likely to win. The black piece is heavily surrounded and has no way to retreat. But it seems that if I want, the black piece can make a comeback. The real winner is not the black piece or the white piece but me, the player, right? Until the last moment, who can say that he is the chess player? Outside the capital, the well-trained black-clothed men in uniform were hiding in the dark. The leader of the Imperial Guards led his subordinates into the area where the black-clothed men were hiding. No matter what the purpose of these black-clothed men was, since they had been discovered, they might as well stay here. A silent battle unfolded in the deserted forest. The strong smell of blood attracted the wild beasts in the depths of the forest. They tried to approach and drag away delicious food, but before they could get close, they were forced to retreat by the murderous aura. The sky gradually darkened, and the movements in the forest gradually disappeared. The leader of the Imperial Guard supported himself with his sword and wiped the blood on his face with his free hand. See if there are any survivors. Also check the surroundings. Don't let anyone escape. Yes, Your Excellency. After packing up everything, the leader of the Imperial Guards went into the palace to report. Unfortunately, this batch of people sent out were all men of sacrifice. They were completely wiped out by the Imperial Guards, so there was no way to get any useful information. Since there was a first batch of people around the capital, there was bound to be a second and a third batch. Shang Junlin specially deployed an army to guard outside the capital. Once they found something wrong, there was no need to report it. They could take action directly. There are strict investigations everywhere. Where did these people come from? In front of Shen Yu, there was a map of Dahuan. On the map, there were many red marks. These were the places where the rebel army had appeared. Gu Huai was ordered to lead the army to eliminate the remnants of the rebel army. Now he had eliminated several places, and the results were obvious. Shang Junlin stood beside him and looked at the map. The other red marks were all connected to each other. Only the one that appeared near the capital was not connected to any other place. It was as if it had appeared out of nowhere. I don't know. Besides the first day, there were no traces of these people. I also sent people to watch the Ministry of Justice, but there were no suspicious people. Your Majesty, please withdraw those people outside the capital. If they continue to wander outside, the mastermind can only watch. Shang Junlin turned to look at Shen Yu. Their eyes met, and Shen Yu blinked. Shang Junlin looked away and said, "Okay." The people in the capital suddenly realized that the Imperial Guards who often patrolled around the city had disappeared. The more observant people even realized that the soldiers who had been patrolling outside the city had also disappeared. What the hell is going on? There were suddenly more patrols on the streets, but they suddenly disappeared today? Maybe the higher-ups feel that there is no more danger. Don't say. When there are more patrols, there are fewer thieves. In the past, there were thieves sent to the Yamen almost every day at this time. This year, there are not many. If you didn't say it, I wouldn't have noticed. It's true. The Imperial Court did not reveal anything, so the people did not know what was happening outside. In their impression, the leader of the rebels, King Yu, had been arrested and his forces disbanded. All the problems had been solved, and they could have a good year this year. The imperial court could not tell the people everything. Many things were selectively published in the newspapers. Some things that were not suitable to be said would not appear in the newspapers. Subei. Near the end of the year, Jiang Huiqing returned to Subei after dealing with the matter of Lin Yuan. This year was the same as last year. He and Jiang Huiqing spent the new year together. Many of the officials who came to Subei were young and had not been here for long. Those who did not bring their families simply suggested that everyone celebrate the new year together. Being in a foreign land, it was better to celebrate the new year together than to be alone. A few days in advance, the government of Subei had already begun to prepare for the new year. This was their first new year here, and also their first year on the road. No matter what the future held, at least for now, everyone's relationship was very harmonious. On a very ordinary day, Qingyu planned to ask Jiang Huiqing to go out for a walk. The customs of Subei were not the same as those of the capital. Before the new year, there would be a large market. The people would take out the goods they had hoarded for a year to exchange for what they wanted. It was very lively. Fang Jiai went out with her people. The other officials also called their close friends to go out with them. They did not have to buy anything. It was good to just join in the fun. Someone invited Qingyu, but he refused. He had already discussed with Jiang Huiqing that they would go out together. The person who sent the invitation teased him. "You have an appointment with official Jiang again?" Qingyu smiled but did not say anything. "I knew it would be like this," the person muttered in a low voice. "If we didn't know your identities, everyone would suspect that you were not real brothers. Even real brothers are not as clingy as you. Huiqing and I hit it off at first sight. Now that we are far away in Subei, we naturally have to take care of each other. We know that you have a good relationship. Then we won't disturb you. Let's meet again next time." After saying this, they left together. Qingyu tidied himself up. After waiting for a long time, Jiang Huiqing did not come out. He could only go and knock on the door. "Huiqing, it's time. Do you feel unwell anywhere? If you don't feel well, it's the same to go another day." The door was opened a small crack. Jiang Huiqing poked his head out. "I don't feel unwell, but something happened. Brother Qingyu, come in first." Qingyu calmly observed Jiang Huiqing. Seeing that he was just a little depressed and had no other problems, he was slightly relieved. "What is it? I'm afraid I can't go and talk to Brother Qingyu again." Jiang Huiqing walked to the table and sat down. "I have to leave Subei. His Majesty wants to summon you back?" For some reason, Qingyu's heart skipped a beat. "No." Jiang Huiqing held the cup, his gaze somewhat blank. "His Majesty has given me a new mission." When the secret order was issued, Shang Junlin did not say anything definite. He gave Jiang Huiqing the leeway to refuse. This trip was very risky, but at the same time, if it was successful, the rewards would not be small. With Jiang Huiqing's background, if not for Shang Junlin's intentional nurturing, it would be impossible for him to make a name for himself in court without a decade or two. Therefore, after receiving the secret order, Jiang Huiqing did not hesitate to agree. He had things he wanted to do. If it could shorten the time, he was willing to pay any price. Jiang Huiqing was a very decisive person. Once he made a decision, he would not regret it. The only thing that made him hesitate was Qingyu. He and Qingyu had discussed how to build Subei well together, how to strive for the best in these few years, and then return to the capital in glory. Now he was going to break the contract. "Can you tell me?" Qingyu suppressed the panic rising in his heart. "It's okay if you don't want to talk." "I can't tell you about His Majesty's secret order." Jiang Huiqing shook his head. "Okay, I won't ask. When are you leaving?" Qingyu paused. "You should be able to tell me about this, right? It'll probably be after the new year, or maybe before. After I leave, I'll need you to cover for me. You can't let anyone know that I'm not here." "Luckily, I don't have much of a presence," Jiang Huiqing said with a smile. "How long will you be gone?" Qingyu's fingers moved, as if he wanted to hold Jiang Huiqing's hand on the table. In the end, he held back. "I'll wait for you to come back. It shouldn't be too long. A year at most? 2 years. If I can come back." If he could come back, he would be closer to clearing his teacher's name. If he couldn't, his name would be buried forever with his teacher. There are no ifs. He Qingyu suddenly stood up, grabbed Jiang Huiqing's shoulder, and said word by word, "I'll wait for you here. You must come back." After that day, Jiang Huiqing was much quieter. For several days he stayed in the place where the files were kept. He Qingyu noticed that most of the files he read were about the northern desert. Jiang Huiqing didn't say anything, and He Qingyu didn't ask either. He just asked someone to find a lot of records about the northern desert and send them to Jiang Huiqing's room. Jiang Huiqing felt that He Qingyu should know something, and he didn't want to hide it from him. He had to go to the northern desert alone. If he really couldn't come back, he hoped that at least one person would know what he was doing. Knock knock. There was a knock on the door. Jiang Huiqing opened the door, and an unfamiliar man walked in and handed Jiang Huiqing a token. Jiang Huiqing took the token. "This is? My lord, please keep this well. This subordinate has been ordered by His Highness to escort you throughout the journey." Jiang Huiqing held the black token in his hand tightly. When Xinyu suggested that Jiang Huiqing go to the northern desert, he would definitely do something. It was inconvenient for the hidden dragon guards to be deployed. Coincidentally, the people he trained could be put to good use. He could also let these people investigate the northern desert first. The hidden dragon guards said that an unknown force has appeared around Jiang Huiqing. Do you know what is going on? His Majesty sent the hidden dragon guards around Jiang Huiqing. Chapter 188. Jiang Huiqing is going there for Dahuan. No matter what, I don't want him to die in the northern desert. Naturally, I have to take some measures. Not only the hidden dragon guards but also the hidden dragon guards. When he reaches the northern desert, the hidden dragon guards will listen to his orders. Shang Junlin caressed Xinyu's cheek. More importantly, he knew that Xinyu valued Jiang Huiqing a lot. As one of Xinyu's few friends, Shang Junlin didn't want anything to happen that would make Xinyu unhappy. Jiang Huiqing's trip to the northern desert this time was risky. Everyone knew this, including Jiang Huiqing himself. Shang Junlin wasn't heartless. He gave Jiang Huiqing a choice. If Jiang Huiqing didn't want to go, he wouldn't force him. Actually, when I sent someone to deliver the secret edict, I asked for Jiang Huiqing's opinion. If he didn't want to go, I would choose someone else. Your Majesty is so nice. Xinyu leaned on Shang Junlin's shoulder. The other force around Jiang Huiqing is my man. I think Your Majesty has already guessed it. Compared to his previous life, Jiang Huiqing's career in this life was much smoother. If he could return from the northern desert smoothly, he would definitely be able to gain a foothold in the imperial court in the shortest time possible. Xinyu always had a bit of selfishness towards Jiang Huiqing. He didn't deny this. Xinyu wouldn't mistreat his subordinates who had gone through fire and water with him in his previous life, even if he didn't experience those things in this life. Soon it was the new year. The palace was decorated in festive red. With Xinyu as the host, the palace was even more lively. There was a big banquet in the palace. The ministers brought their families to attend this banquet. In some ways, it showed how much the emperor valued the ministers. When Xinyu and Shang Junlin arrived, the ministers had already arrived. Shang Junlin led Xinyu directly to the highest position. The ministers were already used to His Majesty's preferential treatment of Xinyu, so no one stood out to say anything. In fact, this kind of banquet was quite boring. Xinyu was not interested in listening to the compliments of the ministers. He focused on the delicious food in front of him. Having learned their lesson from last time, this time, there was no wine on the table in front of them. There were only various kinds of soups and fresh fruit drinks that the imperial chef had concocted. Xinyu picked it up and tasted it. It was sweet and had a unique fruity aroma. It was exceptionally delicious. He looked down and saw that no one was paying attention to them. He scooped up a spoonful and brought it to Shang Junlin's mouth. Your Majesty, try it. Shang Junlin opened his mouth and ate the food in the spoon. It's very sweet. Their little interaction did not escape the eyes of the ministers who had been secretly watching their movements. The courtiers rarely saw how Xinyu and Shang Junlin got along in private. Seeing this scene, they couldn't help but widen their eyes. Was this still their decisive and unyielding His Majesty, who would not allow strangers to approach? They knew that Xinyu was favored, but they only had a vague idea of how favored. Only when they saw the two interacting with each other did they know that Shang Junlin didn't just favor Xinyu. The favor of the emperor was the easiest to get and the easiest to lose. But that was when favor came before love. Looking at the current situation, it was obvious that His Majesty was sincere. The ministers had different thoughts in their minds. Xinyu didn't care what they thought. He was still clingy with Shang Junlin. How they interacted in private was how they interacted now. Is it still the same group of dancers today? Xinyu put down his chopsticks and calculated the time. It was almost time. No. Shang Junlin pursed his lips. It's someone else this time. Is His Majesty still jealous of what happened last time? Xinyu leaned forward and almost leaned on Shang Junlin. It's been so long. His Majesty still hasn't forgotten? Xinyu was talking about what happened last time at Shang Junlin's birthday banquet. Although Xinyu paid a heavy price afterwards, Xinyu still felt that it was very interesting when he thought about it. Shang Junlin raised his hand and stroked Xinyu's waist. With a little force, Xinyu's waist softened and she fell into the man's arms. Xinyu leaned in the man's arms and trembled with laughter. His Majesty didn't send them away, right? Did he have to be so cute? Just because he looked at them a few more times, he changed them. Xinyu found that Shang Junlin's jealousy was really strong. Sometimes it was quite interesting to see a man jealous. Even if he was jealous, he would also be jealous. Shang Junlin held the shoulder of the person in his arms. Zhen let them out of the palace. Xinyu trembled even more. She couldn't hide the smile in her voice. If I looked at them a few more times today, wouldn't His Majesty also send the dancers out of the palace? Shang Junlin pursed his lips and didn't answer. Obviously, he had this thought in his heart. If this continues, after a few more times, there might not be enough dancers in the palace. His Majesty really doesn't need to do this. Today, I will only look at His Majesty, not them, okay? Xinyu propped herself up and withdrew from Shang Junlin's arms. There was still a smile on her face and her eyes were full of moonlight. Shang Junlin used his free hand to touch Xinyu's face. You have to do what you say. Xinyu did what she said. No matter how attractive the following songs and dances were, she only supported her head with her hands and looked at Shang Junlin. Shang Junlin wasn't interested in singing and dancing. His attention fell on Xinyu. He knew Xinyu's taste, so he constantly put the dishes that Xinyu liked into his bowl. The fish meat was deboned, so Xinyu only needed to eat it directly. The dishes at the banquet were very rich. The dishes that were sent to Xinyu were all freshly scooped out of the pot. They were steaming hot. The atmosphere was very harmonious. Of course, Xinyu didn't only eat by herself. When she saw something she liked, she would also pick it up and feed it to Shang Junlin. Shang Junlin didn't refuse. As long as Xinyu picked it up, he would eat it. Feeding Shang Junlin was a very fulfilling thing. He wasn't picky about food. No matter what Xinyu fed him, he would get a positive response. The atmosphere between the two was harmonious. There was no room for the existence of a third person. Many ministers who had married and established their own careers saw the interaction between the two and felt a burst of toothache. Even when their relationship with their wives was at its best, they weren't so clingy. Feng Jiai was far away in Subei. In the Feng family, only Feng Darren and Madame Feng were left. After entering the cabinet, the Feng family's status rose. Many people wanted to establish a relationship with Madame Feng. His Majesty treats Guijun very well. A madam sighed with emotion. No wonder His Majesty doesn't want new people to enter the palace. His Majesty's grace is indeed very rare. Another madam whispered. The election will be held after spring. I don't know if His Majesty will agree this time. I don't think so. I've already found a marriage for my daughter. Whether His Majesty chooses or not, it has nothing to do with us. Your daughter is only 15 years old this year. She's at the prime of her life. Why settle down so early? What if His Majesty agrees? Look at how clingy His Majesty and Guijun are. Do you think His Majesty will agree? In the past, when there was no one in the harem, His Majesty refused to hold the election. Now that Guijun is here, he won't. The madam who spoke was a first-rank noble. Her husband was competent, and so were her children. She had a 15-year-old daughter who was raised like a pearl. Her talent and appearance were superb. Madame Fong pulled her hand and said in a low voice, "You're doing the right thing. You love your own daughter. The harem is not a good place." "Yes. Originally, we thought that if His Majesty agreed to hold the election this year, we would send our daughter into the palace. I'm not boasting, but with my daughter's talent, there's still a chance. But now I don't think so. His Majesty obviously has someone in his heart. If His Majesty is willing to hold the election for Guijuan's sake, I'll admire him. If he does, it's not worth it for my daughter to enter the palace." Parents always wanted the best for their children. Although it was normal for a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines, how many women in the world could truly be unaffected by this matter? It was just that they didn't have a choice. "Actually, I'm very envious of you. Not only me, but most of the madams here are envious of you." She pulled Madame Fong's hand. "If it's possible, I hope that my daughter's future husband can be like Lord Fong, who can only have one in his life. If your Jiai is a boy, I'll be thick-skinned and ask for her hand in marriage." Xin Yu and Shang Junlin couldn't feel the movements below. After a while, Xin Yu was a little full. Shang Junlin had been paying attention to his expression. Seeing this, he put down his chopsticks and took a handkerchief to wipe the corners of his mouth. Xin Yu touched his stomach, and a trace of satisfaction flashed in his eyes. "Is His Majesty full?" Xin Yu didn't need to ask to know that most likely not. This kind of banquet was like this. The purpose was not to eat, but to represent the meaning. The ministers raised their glasses and the atmosphere was quite warm. Outside the palace, the leader of the Imperial Guards and his men lay in ambush in the dark, watching the movements in front of them intently. On the surface, the roads leading to the prison of the Ministry of Justice seemed empty, but in fact, they were all heavily guarded. Tonight was the night of the banquet in the palace. In comparison, the security was at its weakest. If they wanted to do something, it was the best time to choose. On the surface, the leader of the Imperial Guards was attending the banquet in the palace. In fact, he was lying in ambush on the roads leading to the prison of the Ministry of Justice with his men. As the night deepened, a grand firework was lit by the moat. The people flocked to the moat, and the other places seemed empty. Kacha. Very light footsteps were heard. The Imperial Guards lay in ambush. After 15 minutes, men in black appeared at the entrance of the alley like ghosts. After confirming that the road was safe, they rushed to the prison of the Ministry of Justice with a clear goal. Little did they know that they had stepped into a carefully arranged trap. In a quiet corner, a silent killing was going on. Blood dripped down and dyed the bluestone road red. Occasionally there were sounds, but they were drowned out by the loud roar of the fireworks. The people in the palace knew nothing about what was happening outside. The music was pleasant to the ears. The dancers in the middle of the hall were moving. They were wearing light-colored muslin dresses. As they danced, their sleeves fluttered, making them look like fairies. Xin Yu ate and drank to his heart's content. He couldn't help but take a few more glances. Shang Junlin held his head and turned to look at him. "You said he wouldn't look today." There was a subtle complaint in his voice. Xin Yu calmly looked away and his eyes fell on Shang Junlin's face. His eyebrows curved. "Your Majesty is still the most handsome." Xin Yu didn't lie. When he first saw him, he was stunned by his face. His facial features were deep, his eyebrows were sharp, and his narrow eyes were emotionless. When he looked at Xin Yu, his heart trembled. But now his eyes were filled with warmth because of him. When he looked at Xin Yu, his eyes were always filled with restrained and unbridled affection. Under his direct gaze, Shang Junlin's earlobes were tinged with light crimson. Xin Yu curiously reached out to touch them. His wide coat accidentally swept the cup on the table. The cup fell to the ground and made a crisp sound. It was just a small episode, so Xin Yu didn't take it to heart. Unexpectedly, a dancer who was closer to them suddenly pounced on them. Chapter 189. The dancer moved very quickly and brought along a fragrance. Xin Yu subconsciously held his breath, but he still smelled it. Shang Junlin moved even faster. He protected Xinyu with one hand and threw the plate on the table outside. The hidden dragon guards who were guarding outside the main hall broke through the door and entered. The assassination had ended before it even started. The dancer was quickly subdued, and the rest of the dancers were also restrained. Shang Junlin walked down with Xinyu in his arms. The dancer knelt on the ground and did not say a word. The dagger in her hand was knocked to the ground. Xinyu noticed that the dagger was glowing with a blue light. It was obviously poisoned. The banquet was forced to stop. After a short moment of panic, the officials regained their senses and stood aside to protect their family members, including the assassination during the autumn hunt. This was the second assassination attempt this year. Shang Junlin took the sword from the guard and lifted the dancer's chin. He looked at her coldly and asked, "Who ordered you to come?" The dancer's gaze stopped on Shang Junlin for a while before it fell on Xinyu. Xinyu frowned. He felt a little dizzy. He was probably affected by the fragrance. Since he was young, he could not accept certain fragrances. Coincidentally, the fragrance that he smelled just now was one of them. When the officials saw this scene, some of them were quick-witted. They had already recalled that the dancer only attacked after Xinyu swept the cup to the ground. Xinyu also recalled what happened just now. His mind was very muddled now. It was difficult for him to even think, let alone figure out what happened. Xinyu clenched his hands tightly. He wanted to stay awake, but his consciousness was getting more and more muddled. Shang Junlin felt that something was wrong with him. He retracted his gaze and looked at the young man in his arms. "Are you feeling unwell?" Xinyu shook his head. He couldn't faint at this time. Under the watchful eyes of the public, the dancer attacked him because he dropped the cup. If he couldn't solve this problem as soon as possible, it would be very troublesome in the future. Even if Shang Junlin believed him, the court officials would not. Since the dancer dared to do this, she must have a backup plan. If they continued to investigate, they would most likely find him. Xinyu bit the tip of her tongue hard, trying to wake herself up. The stimulation brought by the pain dispelled the fog in her mind. Seeing that it was effective, Xinyu quickly reached out and grabbed the sword in Shang Junlin's hand. The sharp blade cut open his skin, and blood flowed down the blade. "You." Shang Junlin wanted to withdraw his sword, but Xinyu held it tightly. If he exerted force, he would definitely cause more damage to Xinyu. The dancer's expression changed slightly, as if she hadn't expected him to hurt her. A sharp pain came from his palm, and his mind became clearer and clearer. Xinyu curved his lips and smiled. The smile was cold and didn't reach his eyes. Shang Junlin kept exerting force on Xinyu's shoulder, and his other hand almost couldn't hold the hilt of the sword. He let go of Xinyu's shoulder and stroked his face. There was a slight tremble in his voice. "You let go. Be good." The court officials were stunned by what was happening in front of them. They didn't understand why things suddenly developed to this point. Xinyu withdrew from the man's arms. His body swayed a bit, and then he slowly stood firm. One of his hands was still holding the sharp blade, and the blood stained his sleeve. It was painful to look at, but he seemed to feel nothing and took a step forward. This step completely exposed him in the eyes of the dancer. Looking at the dancer's incredulous eyes, Xinyu's smile became bigger and bigger. "You." Shang Junlin grabbed Xinyu's wrist with his free hand. "If you have something to say, we can talk. Let go first, don't hurt yourself." Xinyu looked back at Shang Junlin. This was the first time that Shang Junlin saw such an expression on Xinyu's face. It was strange, but also very moving. He felt his heart beating violently in his chest. He didn't know if it was because he was afraid or because he was moved. He was afraid that Xinyu would be hurt, but he was crazily moved by the young man whose whole body was screaming danger. Xinyu saw the worry in Shang Junlin's eyes. His wrist felt hot, and his fingers loosened little by little. Clang! The sword fell to the ground. Someone summoned the imperial physician. Shang Junlin quickly went to check Xinyu's hand. Xinyu's hand was covered with blood. The blood meandered to the gaps between his fingers, and it was hard to tell where the wound was. Shang Junlin carefully held Xinyu's hand. His eyes were so red that they almost burned his eyes. He didn't dare to use force, and could only carefully hold Xinyu's hand in his palm. "Does it hurt?" Shang Junlin's voice was very soft, but the heartache in his tone couldn't be ignored. Shen Yu's fingers curled up, but Shang Junlin pinched them with his other hand. Don't move, it will bleed. Shen Yu stared at his hand for a while. Under the stimulation of the pain, he reluctantly recovered his thoughts. It doesn't hurt. How could it not hurt? Shang Junlin only looked at it, but he felt the pain. He had fought in the battlefield when he was young, and had suffered countless injuries. If this injury appeared on his own body, he wouldn't even frown. But when this injury appeared on Shen Yu's body, he couldn't tolerate it. Eunuch Meng was already stunned by what was happening in front of him. When he heard Shang Junlin's voice, he came back to his senses. He quickly ordered several little eunuchs to call the imperial physician. Mushi stood on the side. She wanted to come closer, but she didn't dare to. She had been with Shen Yu for many years and had seen many sides of Shen Yu, but she had never seen Shen Yu like this. He was full of the word dangerous. The injured hand was carefully held in the palm of Shang Junlin's hand. Blood flowed down his palm and soaked their sleeves. Shen Yu blinked and pulled his hand back from the man's hand. He half squatted in front of the dancer and asked the same question as Shang Junlin. Who ordered you to do this? Although it was the same question, the dancer knew that Shang Junlin was asking who ordered the assassination, while Shen Yu was asking who ordered the framing. Master, it was you who ordered it, really? Shen Yu suddenly reached out and grabbed the dancer's neck. The person behind you didn't really think that he could throw dirty water on me with just a few words, did he? His fingers tightened, and the dancer's breathing became difficult. Her face became more and more ugly. Shen Yu used his injured hand. The more strength he used, the more blood flowed out of the wound. As if the blood that flowed out wasn't his own. Shen Yu didn't even frown. His wrist was grabbed again. Shang Junlin hugged Shen Yu from behind. You be good. Let go of your hand first. I know that this matter has nothing to do with you. Let me see your hand. Shang Junlin managed to pry Shen Yu's hand away with great difficulty, and tightly restrained his wrist to prevent him from doing anything to hurt him again. Mushi handed over a clean handkerchief. Shang Junlin carefully bandaged the wound on Shen Yu's hand. Your Majesty, take the assassin away first. The Prime Minister walked out and said. Shang Junlin held Shen Yu in his arms. Take him away and interrogate the person behind the scenes. If you can't find anything, don't even think about keeping your official hats. Your Majesty, what if? Another Prime Minister stood out and carefully looked at the young man who was firmly protected in Shang Junlin's arms. There won't be any what if. Your Majesty and I have been together day and night. If you really have disloyalty, why would you go through so much trouble to assassinate me? Shen Yu wanted to say something, but he was held in the man's arms. Shang Junlin lowered his head and whispered in his ear. Don't be afraid, I will take care of it. Shen Yu struggled twice, but he was suppressed by the man. Shang Junlin was really scared. In order to prevent him from hurting himself, Shang Junlin had to hold him tightly in his arms. His breath was full of the familiar scent. His strong arms held a safe space. Shen Yu's tense mind slowly relaxed. The imperial physician hurried over. The main hall was in a mess. Shang Junlin carried Shen Yu to the back of the hall. The Prime Minister and Fang Jun were left to deal with the matters in front. Imperial physician Gu had already learned about the general situation on the way. He first checked the pulse, then treated Shen Yu's wound. The handkerchief was untied, and the blood on his palm was wiped away little by little. Shen Yu shrank his fingers in pain. Shang Junlin held his wrist, and his voice was indiscernible. Do you feel pain now? The pain constantly stimulated the nerves. Shen Yu's mind was sometimes confused and sometimes sober. He looked at Shang Junlin for a while, then leaned over to his face and bit his chin. It was not heavy, and he didn't even feel pain. Shang Junlin only felt that his heart was lightly stung, and it was sore and numb. He held Shen Yu's head and let him lean on his shoulder. He asked Imperial Physician Gu, "How is Yu's condition?" The wound on his hand is a bit deep. Don't let it come into contact with water for a short period of time. He also needs to avoid certain foods. This official will list some precautions. Also, this official wants to check what Your Majesty ate today. What's the matter? Xinyu rubbed Shang Junlin's shoulder and whispered, "It's a fragrance. I can't stand the fragrance of that dancer." "If you can't stand it, then why were you so close to her just now?" Xinyu admitted that he was in the wrong, so he didn't say anything. Imperial physician Gu checked Xinyu's pulse again. At Xinyu's request, he also checked Shang Junlin's pulse. Without a doubt, Shang Junlin didn't have any problems. The fragrance only worked on Xinyu. Shang Junlin called Eunuch Meng over and whispered a few words to him. Eunuch Meng left the back of the hall and went to do what Shang Junlin instructed. "Will this fragrance affect Yu's body?" Shang Junlin held Xinyu's injured hand and didn't dare to use too much strength. "At present, other than causing a certain degree of drowsiness, there won't be any other symptoms. This official needs to observe for a few days to see what will happen next." Imperial physician Gu answered cautiously. Shang Junlin rubbed Xinyu's fingers and didn't say anything. Imperial physician Gu took out the medicine from the medicine box. "This is for external application. Apply it once a day in the morning and once a day. It's good for the recovery of the wound. This official will prescribe another prescription to remove the effects of the fragrance in your body." Mushi put the medicine away. She was worried, but the emperor was present, so she couldn't ask directly. "Miss Mushi, please decoct the medicine on this prescription quickly. This official needs to see the effect." Imperial physician Gu handed the written prescription to Mushi. Mushi didn't dare to delay, and took the prescription to decoct the medicine. Cough cough. Xinyu coughed a few times in a low voice. Because he had lost too much blood, his face was very pale. Shang Junlin was anxious, but he couldn't do anything. A strong sense of powerlessness swept over him. He could only hug Xinyu harder in his arms. The pain gradually disappeared, and his consciousness gradually became dizzy. Xinyu resisted and shrank back when the bitter medicine entered his mouth. "You listen to me. You won't feel uncomfortable after drinking the medicine." Shang Junlin asked Imperial physician Gu a lot of questions while Xinyu was semi-conscious. When Xinyu regained consciousness again, he didn't know how much time had passed. The bitter taste in his mouth couldn't be removed. He pushed the man who was holding him tightly. "Your Majesty, I want to drink water." Shang Junlin touched his face and got up to pour water for him. After drinking a cup of water and eating a few candied fruits, the bitterness in his mouth finally dissipated a little. Xinyu looked around at the layout of the surroundings. They had already returned to Yuzhang Palace. "Your Majesty, that dancer. I will take care of it." You don't have to worry." Shang Junlin helped Xinyu sit up. "I have already handed this matter to the Prime Minister and Fang Jun to take care of it. Nothing will happen." Xinyu leaned against the headboard of the bed. He had already changed into his pajamas. His right hand hurt a little. He raised his hand and saw his tightly wrapped palm. He could feel a slight pain when he moved his fingers. Shang Junlin held his hand and stuffed it back under the quilt. Imperial physician Gu said that this hand can't be used for the time being, and it can't touch water. Xinyu nodded. Shang Junlin pinched Xinyu's injured finger and gently rubbed it. Does it hurt?" Without waiting for Xinyu to answer, Shang Junlin continued. "I am in a lot of pain. Seeing you injured, I am in a lot of pain." Xinyu suddenly swallowed the words he wanted to say and pursed his lips. His eyes revealed a complicated expression. "With me here, what you is worried about will never happen. You don't need to hurt yourself to prove anything." Shang Junlin lifted Xinyu's chin and said in an unclear tone. "Do you remember you?" Xinyu looked at Shang Junlin, and faintly felt that he seemed to be angry. Chapter 190. Is Your Majesty angry? Xinyu tilted his head. "Because I hurt myself?" "Yes," Shang Junlin did not deny. "I know that Yu has his own reasons for doing this, but I still hope that there will be a next time. No, I won't let the same thing happen again. It's my fault this time." Xinyu raised his uninjured hand and touched the man's face. "I know Your Majesty will protect me." But at that moment, he still subconsciously chose to believe in himself. He did not want to leave too much trouble for Shang Junlin. He was used to everyone relying on him. "I don't mean to blame you." Shang Junlin changed the topic. "Let's not talk about this anymore. You should rest for a while." I'll go check on the situation. Could this matter be blamed on Xinyu? No. Shang Junlin was too concerned. He knew that if Xinyu had not done anything at that time, things would have developed unfavorably for them. Knowing was one thing, but seeing Xinyu injured was one thing. He could not bear it. He could not say harsh words to Xinyu, and he could not vent his anger on Xinyu. Xinyu did not do anything wrong in this matter. The one who was wrong was the one who planned this behind the scenes and tried to drag Xinyu down. Shang Junlin did not stay long. He could not completely ignore what happened tonight. After confirming that Xinyu was fine, he left. Xinyu leaned against the headboard and looked at the bed curtain above his head. His eyes were a little dazed. Tonight was destined to be a sleepless night for many people. Xinyu's hand was injured, and he was affected by the incense. His whole body was weak. It was not until dawn that Shang Junlin came back. Xinyu closed his eyes and saw Shang Junlin come in. He sat up from the bed. Why is you not asleep? Xinyu smelled blood on the man and frowned slightly. What did your majesty do? Shang Junlin stopped in his tracks. Nothing much. I just saw Fang Jun interrogate the assassin. Xinyu looked at him suspiciously. He seriously suspected that Shang Junlin had done it himself. Xinyu didn't know. What he suspected was the truth. After he was injured, Shang Junlin had nowhere to vent his anger, so he went to see the dancer who had tried to assassinate him. No one knew what kind of torture the dancer had suffered. Later, when Fang Jun went in, he only saw the dancer's blood-stained clothes and Shang Junlin, who was so cold that no one could get close to him. I have never thought of myself as a good person. How much blood did you make you bleed today? I want you to pay back double. After ascending the throne for so many years, especially after Xinyu entered the palace, Shang Junlin's temper had been restrained. Fang Jun hadn't seen the emperor so angry for a long time. When the ministers who hadn't left heard the commotion, they didn't dare to raise any doubts about Xinyu. They clearly realized that Xinyu was Shang Junlin's reverse scale. Anyone who touched him would die. No one dared to provoke the angry emperor. They weren't stupid. After the incident, they realized how Shang Junlin and Xinyu interacted at the banquet. They knew how they got along in private. As Shang Junlin said, if Xinyu really wanted to harm him, he didn't have to go through so much trouble to arrange for the dancer to assassinate him. The ministers were temporarily placed in the palace. Fortunately, the palace was big enough and there were many empty palaces. The ministers were all placed in one place, and could only leave after they were sure that there was no suspicion on them. Shang Junlin personally interrogated the dancer. Under Fang Jun's interrogation, the dancer who refused to tell the truth no matter what finally couldn't bear it, and admitted that she had framed Xinyu. However, she still refused to say who was the instigator. Fang Jun was afraid that the dancer would be killed, so he boldly stopped Shang Junlin from interrogating her. Shang Junlin calmed down and returned to Yuzhang Palace. Under Shenyu's questioning, Shang Junlin casually explained the progress of the matter. The people who are involved with the assassins have been detained. Fang Jun will arrange for them to be interrogated. How does your majesty plan to deal with these people? After asking, Xinyu felt that he had asked a stupid question, so he leaned on the bed. Does your majesty want to rest for a while? Shang Junlin walked to the bedside and sat down. He tucked Xinyu in. I have something to deal with later, so I won't rest. Mushi, asked the kitchen to prepare some food. Xinyu didn't insist. This time, the assassination happened in the palace, so it would be more troublesome to deal with it than the last time. Are you as hungry? Xinyu nodded. Your majesty, accompany me to eat. Shang Junlin didn't refuse. The kitchen worked quickly. After a while, under the guidance of Mushi, the food was served one by one. Because it was morning, the food prepared was mainly light. Shang Junlin wasn't picky and finished breakfast with Xinyu. The sun slowly rose. Shang Junlin held Xinyu's hand and strolled along the path. The winter sun brought warmth. Xinyu raised his hand to cover his eyes. Shang Junlin looked at his hand and his eyes darkened. He held Xinyu's uninjured hand. Xinyu used his injured hand to block the sun. His palm was wrapped in layers of white cloth, so the hideous wound across his palm couldn't be seen. However, Shang Junlin would never forget the bloody appearance of this hand. Noticing the man's gaze, Xinyu put down his hand and waved it in front of Shang Junlin. Imperial Physician Gu's medicine is very effective. It doesn't hurt anymore. You don't hurt yourself next time. Shang Junlin's gaze was complicated, and his tone was a little depressed. I won't. Xinyu didn't like Shang Junlin's expression. I promise. A breeze blew, and the hair on Xinyu's cheek was blown away. He stopped and turned to look at Shang Junlin. If it weren't for this accident, I wouldn't have been able to see such a beautiful sunrise with your majesty. Your majesty, don't think about those unhappy things. Look ahead how beautiful it is. A huge red sun was slowly rising. Not far from the prison of the Ministry of Justice, a silent battle gradually came to an end. The leader of the Imperial Guards wiped the blood on his face and ordered in a hoarse voice, "See if there are any survivors." Their purpose was not only to eliminate the people hiding in the dark trying to rescue the King of You, but also to find the mastermind behind these people. They had deliberately let down their guard in order to give the mastermind an opportunity to fish out the biggest fish behind the scenes. In an inconspicuous house in the suburbs of the capital, a man in a navy blue robe wore a black mask that covered his entire face. Two men in black knelt respectfully in front of him. It's dawn and they haven't returned yet. The man in the navy blue robe spoke. His voice was hoarse, and it was impossible to determine his age based on his voice alone. I've already arranged for people to receive them. The man snorted coldly. Don't come back with nothing but some things that shouldn't be brought back. Bang! As they spoke, a loud noise came from outside the house. The expressions of the three people in the house changed slightly. One of the men in black said, I'll go out and take a look. The man had an ominous premonition in his heart. He shouldn't have come on this trip. According to his usual style, no matter what happened, he would leave it to his subordinates. However, because he helped the King of Yu's rebellion, he lost too many people in his hands. In addition, the imperial court was constantly sending people to capture his people. Many of his strongholds were destroyed, and his influence was sharply reduced. For a time, he was in a predicament where there was no one he could use. For the sake of the King of Yu, he had already paid too much. No matter what, he couldn't just watch the King of Yu be killed. The forces he had developed were either captured or destroyed. There weren't many that could be used. Even if he didn't act personally this time, it wouldn't be long before those people followed the clues to find him. After weighing the pros and cons, there was only one viable option left. Thus, he took the remaining elite forces and went in the opposite direction, coming to the capital. He didn't have much power in his hands, but that didn't mean that he didn't have any other power that he could use. The premise was that he could save the King of Yu safely. Without the King of Yu, he couldn't activate those forces. This was also the reason why he had tried to save the King of Yu. After half an hour, there was no movement outside. The man became more and more flustered. Deathly silence spread, as if it was the last calm before the storm. The man fidgeted. He stood up from his chair and walked to the wall. He gently moved the flower pot on the desk. A crack appeared in the middle of the wall. Slowly, the crack became bigger and bigger. It formed a hole that could fit two people. Before he could walk into the secret passage, the door of the study room was violently broken open from the outside. The person who entered was wearing a uniform of black armor. Under the sunlight, there was a cold glow. The man was furious. Hidden dragon guards. The leader raised his hand slightly and the people behind him entered the room. Most of the men that the man brought were sent out to save the King of Yu. Facing the hidden dragon guards, they didn't have the ability to retaliate. On the first day of the new year, the imperial court was very busy. Xinyu took an afternoon nap and went to the imperial study to look for Shang Junlin. The prime minister, Fang Jun, and the other ministers were all there. The incident that happened near the prison of the Ministry of Justice had already spread to the palace. Some of the officials were released after they were confirmed to be fine. Those who stayed behind went to the imperial study. Eunuch Meng was waiting outside. When he saw Xinyu, he hurriedly welcomed him. Are you here to see His Majesty? His Majesty is having a meeting with the other ministers. Xinyu thought for a while and didn't go in. Instead, he went to the side chamber. I won't disturb His Majesty and the other ministers. When His Majesty is done with his work, please help me inform His Majesty. How is your arrival a disturbance? Eunuch Meng led him to the side chamber and arranged everything before leaving. Xinyu had been in the palace for more than a year. Other than a few days ago, he rarely came to the imperial study. Previously, in order to urge His Majesty to eat, Xinyu went to the imperial study instead of the side chamber. Even though he didn't come often, the layout of the side chamber had changed a lot. There were many small details that Xinyu liked. Xinyu didn't have to wait for long before Shang Junlin came over. If you want to see Zhen, you can go in directly. You don't have to wait for Zhen in the side chamber. Shang Junlin walked forward and stroked Xinyu's cheek. It's not good to disturb His Majesty's business. Xinyu didn't want to be entangled in this issue. I came to ask, did the assassin confess? She didn't want to say anything. Fang Jun said to let her rest first, so that she wouldn't die without getting anything out of her. What about the other people who had contact with the dancers? Did they get any useful clues? On the way here, Xinyu heard from Mu Shi that all the dancers, including the dancers who had performed last night, were now detained. The guards were very strict. Outsiders couldn't get any useful information. Xinyu wanted to know. The fastest way was to ask Shang Junlin. Xinyu rubbed the teacup in his hand, his voice very soft. I want to know who has such great malice towards me. Chapter 191. If this happened in his previous life, Xinyu could understand. He had made a lot of enemies in his previous life, and there were as many people who wanted him dead as carps crossing the river. But in this life, he had entered the palace without doing anything. Even if he had made enemies, it was too late. It might not be because of a you. Shang Junlin felt that in the end, this matter was very likely because of him. He had been on the throne for so many years, and there were many people who hated him. Even before he ascended the throne, there were many people who wanted him dead. Although those who took action were dealt with by him, it was inevitable that there would be fish that escaped the net. Your Majesty, can I go and see the assassin? Xinyu wanted to make sure whether the assassin was coming for him. If so, was there a backup plan? Xinyu didn't like to feel a sense of crisis at the last moment. If he wanted to do something, he had to nip all the dangers in the bud. Shang Junlin thought of the appearance of the dancer when he left, and his voice was slightly hesitant. Wait for 2 days. Xinyu only wanted to see the assassin once. Hearing this, he nodded and thought of another matter. Your Majesty, why did you come out so quickly? Have you finished your discussion? Of course not. After Shang Junlin received the news that Xinyu had come, he dropped the half-discussed matter and came out to see him. Anyway, those matters couldn't be resolved in a short time, and the ministers could continue their discussion after he left. The ministers didn't expect that Shang Junlin would suddenly leave in the middle of their discussion. They looked at each other. Does Your Majesty have something important to say? Eunuch Meng laughed dryly and didn't know how to answer. It was impossible for him to not report Xinyu's arrival. Otherwise, he would be the one to suffer. However, he didn't expect that His Majesty would directly abandon the minister and leave. Looking at Eunuch Meng's expression, the Prime Minister guessed something and said to draw everyone's attention. His Majesty must have something to do, so he left in a hurry. Let's continue. As Shang Junlin said, without him present, the ministers could continue their discussion as usual. The Prime Minister and Fang Jun controlled the topic. They were discussing matters related to the assassination this time. Unlike the last time, the assassination was carried out in the palace and involved more people and a greater variety of people. Xinyu didn't want to delay Shang Junlin for too long, but Shang Junlin refused to go back alone, so he had no choice but to go with him. When the ministers saw that Shang Junlin went out and brought back Xinyu, they all widened their eyes. Only the Prime Minister and Fang Jun had a hint of understanding in their eyes. Your subjects greet Your Majesty, Your Highness. Regardless of what they were thinking, they all stood up and saluted the moment they saw them. You don't have to be so courteous. Shang Junlin hugged Xinyu and sat down on the main seat. Some of the ministers saw this scene and opened their mouths, wanting to say something. This matter involves Your Highness. I think Your Highness has the right to know everything. They slandered your highness for no reason, so there must be a reason. My dear ministers, what do you think this reason is? Shang Junlin made the first move, so the ministers' thoughts were led away by him. They no longer thought about whether it was appropriate for Xin Yu, as your highness, to appear here or not. Your subject thinks that we can start from the people around your highness, to see if they have a grudge with your highness in the past. Plotting to murder your majesty is a serious crime. No matter whether your highness really did it or not, as long as you are suspicious, you will be estranged from your majesty. The minister who spoke glanced at Shang Junlin and slowly looked away. Of course, your majesty and your highness have a strong relationship, and are not deceived by outsiders. This assassination can be said to be killing two birds with one stone. No matter whether it succeeds or not, your highness will be implicated. Your subject thinks that the person who planned this must have had a conflict with your highness. Your subject may ask, Your Highness, can you think of any suspicious person? Xin Yu had been thinking for a long time, but there was no result. Otherwise, he would not have wanted to see the dancer. Until the leader of the Imperial Guards and the leader of the Hidden Dragon Guards came to report, they did not come up with any useful results. The person behind King Yu has been caught? Xin Yu could not believe it when he suddenly received the news that the person behind King Yu had been caught. I sent the Hidden Dragon Guards and the Imperial Guards to act together. They split into two groups and finally caught the person. This arrest had been planned for a long time. It started from the first time King Yu was locked up in the dark prison. After almost a year, they finally succeeded. Congratulations, Your Highness, for getting what you wanted. It's all thanks to you. Shang Junlin hugged Xin Yu and kissed him on the forehead. Now that the person behind King Yu had been caught, Shang Junlin had more things to do. The trap that the late emperor had set for Shang Junlin before his death was finally solved. The person behind the scenes was locked up alone in the dark prison. In order to prevent any accidents from happening, the prison was heavily guarded. Shang Junlin transferred people from the Ministry of Justice and the Supreme Court to deal with this matter together. On one hand, there was an assassination, and on the other hand, there was a rebellion. The ministers were so busy because of these two matters that they did not even have time to rest. Duke Xinbei was dismissed from his position and stayed at home. Naturally, he did not attend the palace banquet. When he heard the news of the emperor's assassination, it had already been 2 days. Duke, I heard some news from outside. I don't know if it's true or not. After the discussion, one of Duke Xinbei's trusted aides said hesitantly, What news? Duke Xinbei looked a lot older because he was dismissed from his position. It's about Guijun. The trusted aide lowered his voice. I got the news from the palace. It said that this assassination has something to do with Guijun. There's a saying that it was Guijun who ordered this assassination. Nonsense. Duke Xinbei slammed the table hard. Duke, don't be angry. It's not groundless. It said that on the night of the assassination, Guijun threw a cup for no reason. That's why a dancer who was performing a dance was killed. Duke Xinbei fell silent and wiped his face tiredly. What did His Majesty say about this? His Majesty suppressed the news and ordered people not to spread it. Whether this is true or not, it's extremely unfavorable to the Duke's mansion. I know that Xin Yu would not do such a thing. There must be some misunderstanding. If the assassination was true, it would bring disaster to the 9 generations. Duke Xinbei stood by the window and watched the sun slowly set. He suddenly remembered something that happened many years ago. Just at this time, the trusted aide spoke again. I'm worried that this matter might be related to the forces that Madam mentioned in the past. If it's really related to them, I'm afraid that there will be endless troubles in the future. Saying that there would be troubles was not a big deal. The accusation of assassination was obviously to send everyone to a dead end. Let's wait and see. If it doesn't work, I'll go to the palace. The 2 people in the room didn't notice that a corner of clothes flashed in the corridor outside the room. Xin Qing ran past by here by accident. He didn't expect that he would hear such a big secret. Of course, he hoped that Xin Yu's fate would be miserable. The more miserable, the better. But the premise was that he would not be implicated. He had been in this era for many years. He knew that ancient times were different from modern times. He and Xinyu had the same father but different mothers. If Xinyu committed the crime of exterminating the 9 generations, he would not be able to escape. He didn't want to die with Xinyu at all. When he heard that Shang Junlin had suppressed the matter, Xin Qingran felt relieved. At the same time, there was a strong jealousy. Why could Xinyu have the best of everything? After entering the palace, he was doted on alone. Now the high and mighty emperor was willing to suppress the news of the assassination for him. Jealousy was like a poisonous snake gnawing at his heart. Xin Qingran wanted to destroy everything, but he couldn't do anything. Xin Qingran woke up in the middle of the night. He found a person wrapped in a black robe standing by his bed. Who are you? Who I am is not important. What's important is that I can fulfill your wish. Do you want to replace Xinyu's position? It should be you who entered the palace. Why did Xinyu get all the benefits? A hoarse voice came from the hood, carrying with it a strange and bewitching power. Xin Qingran was not bewitched. He stared at him with vigilance. What do you want to do? I can help you replace Xinyu's position. As long as you agree to a small request of mine. You can do it just because you say you can? Don't fool me like I'm a 3-year-old child. Xin Qingran wanted to replace Xinyu's position, but he wouldn't believe what others said. If it was in the past, he might have foolishly believed it. Now he only believed in himself. You said that you can help me replace Xinyu's position. Presumably, other people can do it too. Go find someone else. Compared to me, there are a lot of people in the capital who want that position. After that, he covered his head with the quilt. Apparently, he didn't want to continue the conversation. The black-robed man stared at him for a while. Then he gave a light hum and left. Everything that happened in Count North's residence was passed to Xinyu's ears through Yinhua. Yinhua was the name Xinyu gave to his force. It was mainly responsible for delivering information for Xinyu. In his previous life, Yinhua was developed to the extreme in Xinyu's hands. Their intelligence network was spread all over the world, which was very convenient for King Yu. In this life, Xinyu returned to the time when Yinhua was still in its embryonic form. Everything had to start from scratch. Fortunately, Xinyu didn't lack time. After a year of development, and with the experience of his previous life, Yinhua grew very fast. Xinyu sent people to the northern desert with Jiang Huiqing. In addition to protection, the other purpose was to root Yinhua in the northern desert. You mean you didn't track down the black-robed man? Xinyu played with a red plum in his hand. Mushi lowered her head. Yes. That man appeared suddenly and disappeared suddenly. Our people lost track of him. Xinyu put the red plum into the white porcelain vase. Pay more attention to the people around Xin Qingran. In this world, as long as something has existed, it will leave traces. What Yinhua needs to do is to find the person according to these traces. I understand. Xinyu played with the white porcelain vase on the table. Is it beautiful? Mushi smiled. It has been done by the young master. How can it not be beautiful? When Shang Junlin came back, he found that there was a touch of red in the bedchamber. Xinyu followed his gaze and looked. It's the red plum that His Majesty brought back. Yu is clever and skillful. He should be rewarded. After dinner, Shang Junlin took Xinyu for a walk outside. Yu said that he wants to see the assassin. He can do it today. Xinyu asked, did Lord Feng and the others find out anything? Shang Junlin's gaze fell on Xinyu. They found out something. The assassin confessed that the person behind the scenes arranged the assassination not to kill me, but to put the crime of assassination on Yu. These days I have been thinking about who has such a big grudge against me that they didn't hesitate to plan an assassination just to frame me. I didn't expect that they would hate me so much. Your Majesty, do you still remember the person who was treated as an assassin by you when you first met me? I'm wondering if there is any connection between the two. Xinyu kicked away the stone beside his feet. Shang Junlin frowned. You means that the people who are targeting you are the same group of people. Chapter 192. I'm not sure. Xinyu only had this thought. It's been so many years, no one knows who wanted to kill me. If I didn't kill them directly at that time. Xinyu raised his hand to cover Shang Junlin's mouth. If your majesty didn't kill them directly and make them afraid, there might be a second and third assassination later. I was lucky enough to meet your majesty once, but I can't be so lucky every time. Shang Junlin knew that Xinyu was right. At that time, Xinyu was too young and didn't have the ability to protect himself. If his actions didn't frighten the people behind him, what awaited Xinyu would most likely be endless assassinations. Shang Junlin's slightly cold fingers covered his lips. Xinyu's lips moved, and Xinyu quickly withdrew his hand. Xinyu curled his fingers in his sleeves and looked away. Didn't your majesty say that you can take me to see the assassin today? When are we going? I asked Meng Chong to prepare the carriage. Shang Junlin wanted to leave the palace, so eunuch Meng hurriedly arranged the carriage. The two didn't stop and went straight to the secret prison. Fang Jun received the news that the emperor was coming, so he went to the secret prison first and arranged everything before they arrived. When he saw the two of them, he stepped forward and bowed. The person your majesty wants to see is here. Your majesty, please follow me. Because they were going to meet the emperor, the assassin was reminded in advance. She was escorted by two jailers and brought to Shang Junlin and Xinyu. Because of the incense, Xinyu's memory of that day was relatively vague. He didn't even remember what the assassin looked like. After seeing the assassin today, his memory of that day became much clearer. The assassin's expression was wooden. When she saw Shang Junlin, she shrank back reflexively. The wooden expression in her eyes was replaced by fear. Xinyu raised his eyebrows and whispered in Shang Junlin's ear. What did your majesty do to make her so afraid of you? Shang Junlin's emotionless eyes swept over the assassin. He squeezed Xinyu's hand and evaded Xinyu's question. Ask whatever you want. Xinyu just asked casually and didn't want to get an answer. Since Shang Junlin didn't say anything, he didn't ask further. He turned to look at the assassin who was kneeling in front of the jailers. Besides you, did they arrange any other action? Xinyu was half leaning on Shang Junlin and asked. Yes. What action? I don't know. Was there anyone else besides you who tried to assassinate him? No. Is there anyone else in the palace other than you? Yes. Who gave you the incense? Master gave it to me. Xinyu asked a lot of questions, and the assassin answered all of them. When Xinyu asked the last question, the assassin became silent. Why me? After a long time the assassin answered, It's master's order. After a round of questioning, Fang Jun seemed to have gotten something out of her, but at the same time, he seemed to have gotten nothing out of her. Fang Jun explained, This woman seems to have undergone special training. It took me a lot of effort to pry open her mouth. When they came out of the dark prison, Xinyu suddenly thought of Zhu Wang, who was also locked up in the dark prison. He pulled Shang Junlin's sleeve. What's wrong? Your Majesty, send someone to check Zhu Wang's attitude. Zhu Wang has an old grudge with my mother. Maybe we can get some clues from him. Okay. Shang Junlin called the hidden dragon guards and whispered a few instructions. When they came out of the dark prison, the sun was blocked by the dark clouds. Xinyu looked at the sky. It seems like it's going to rain. Sure enough, after the horse carriage traveled for a while, it started to rain. The rain got heavier and the sky got darker. Seeing that the rain would not stop anytime soon, Shang Junlin ordered them to find a place to take shelter from the rain. The sun was shining just now, and now it's raining so heavily. Xinyu lifted the curtain and looked outside. After receiving Shang Junlin's order, the horse carriage turned around and drove to another place. They found a house nearby to take shelter from the rain. The road from the palace to the dark prison was very remote. The people who lived nearby were not high officials or nobles. Eunuch Meng chose a house nearby. The owner of the house was very kind. When he heard that they were here to take shelter from the rain, he quickly welcomed them in. Xinyu and Shang Junlin were wearing casual clothes when they left the palace. Although their identities could not be identified, it was not difficult to tell from their clothes and actions that they were not ordinary people. There was only a woman in the house. According to the woman, all the men in the house went out to do business. Usually she was the only one at home. Young masters, please drink some tea to warm your body. The woman brought out some hot tea from the house and placed it in front of Shenyu and Shang Junlin. Thank you, Auntie. Shenyu picked up the teacup and took a sip. The weather is really changeable. The sun was shining just now, and now it's raining so heavily. I don't know if my husband got caught in the rain. The woman looked at the rain outside the house with a worried expression. Shenyu found a lot of unfinished umbrellas in the house. He guessed that the business the woman was talking about was selling umbrellas. Shenyu sat for a while and felt a little cold. He slowly moved to Shang Junlin's side and said in a low voice, "Your Majesty, I'm a little cold." The outside of the palace was not like the inside of the palace. When they were in the palace, wherever Shenyu went, the ground would be heated up. Their house was obviously not in such a good condition. Coupled with the rain, the temperature in the house was very low. Shang Junlin reached out and hugged Shenyu in his arms. He held Shenyu's hands in his palms and asked, "Do you feel better?" When the woman came out, she saw the tall man holding the slightly thin young man in his arms. She smiled kindly and put the food on the table. "Young masters, you have a good relationship. I don't know when the rain will stop. If you are hungry, you can eat some first. The conditions in the house are simple and crude. I hope you don't mind." The rain showed no signs of stopping. The woman went to do her own things. Shenyu nestled in Shang Junlin's arms and fell asleep. After a long time, Shenyu woke up and found himself in the carriage. Shang Junlin hugged him with one hand and played with the hair beside his face with the other. "Has the rain stopped?" "Yes." The carriage shook. Shenyu was drowsy and his voice was getting smaller and smaller. The man came back and saw the woman staring at the purse on the table. He walked over and asked, "What is this?" There were traces of rain on his body. The woman suddenly woke up and said, "It was left by someone who came to our house to take shelter from the rain." "Someone came here?" The woman nodded and told the man what happened just now. "I didn't open the purse. It's probably filled with silver. I know you have good intentions, but you should be careful when you are alone at home. What if it's a bad person?" The woman took a dry cloth and wiped him. "I saw the person's eyes were clear. He doesn't seem to be a bad person. Besides, who dares to do anything in front of the emperor?" The man picked up the pouch. The pouch was well made and looked expensive. It was heavy in his hand. When the pouch was opened, the man paused. The woman opened her eyes wide and found her voice after a long time. "This is too much." The man frowned. "Do you still remember the appearance of the person who came? The next time I go out, I will find a way to return the money. It's too much." The woman nodded. Shenyu didn't know about this episode. He fell asleep on the way back to the palace. This time, he slept until noon the next day. Shang Junlin was so scared that he summoned Imperial Physician Gu to the palace that night. When Shenyu woke up, he found that his hand was held in someone's hand. His fingers moved and he immediately alerted the man who was reading a booklet with one hand. "You woke up?" Shenyu rubbed his forehead. He had a headache because he slept for too long. Shenyu changed his clothes and walked 2 laps outside. Only then did he feel really awake. "Why didn't your Majesty wake me up?" Shenyu opened his palm. Shang Junlin was applying medicine for him. The wound across his palm gradually healed. After a few days, it had already scabbed. The scabbed area was a little itchy. When the cool ointment was applied to the wound, it was very comfortable. "I couldn't wake you up," Shang Junlin frowned. "Imperial Physician Gu came to check on you. He said that your vitality was damaged during this period of time. Sleeping more is good for recovery." Shang Junlin didn't mention how flustered he was last night. Shenyu could roughly guess. He touched his face with his other hand. "Thank you for your hard work, Your Majesty." After applying the medicine, Shang Junlin handed the medicine bottle to Eunuch Meng who had been waiting beside him. "You give me a kiss and I won't be tired." "Okay, Your Majesty, come closer." Shenyu raised the corner of his mouth. Shang Junlin followed his words and leaned over. A soft kiss fell on the corner of his lips. Shang Junlin caught the young man who slipped away after kissing him and kissed him back deeply. The palace servant quietly retreated. Shenyu raised his head. His injured wrist was shackled by the man. His strong arm restrained his waist, making it impossible for him to retreat. "What are you doing, Your Majesty?" Xinyu felt the restraint on his wrist. He turned his head to avoid the man's kiss and looked at his wrist. He didn't know when, but his two wrists were tied together with red silk. It wasn't tied tightly, but it was just enough to prevent him from breaking free. His snow-white wrists were tied with red silk, which made his skin look even fairer. It was tempting to leave his mark on it. The imperial physician said that a Yu's hands can't be used too much strength. "They can't touch water," Shang Junlin said in a low and hoarse voice. "A Yu can bite me if he can't bear it. Don't use your hands to grab." Xinyu's warm breath brushed past her ear. She unconsciously curled her body. His hands couldn't be used, which made everything that followed more difficult. Xinyu bit the man's shoulder to vent his anger, leaving a deep bite mark. The man seemed to feel no pain, or it could be said that he was stimulated by his actions and became more and more excited. Xinyu tilted his head and kissed the side of his face, lingering. "A Yu." Xinyu's energy, which had been recuperating for an entire night, was exhausted again. When it was over, Shang Junlin held him in his arms and untied the red silk on his wrists. Even though Xinyu struggled a little during the process, only a shallow red mark was left on his wrists. Xinyu curiously touched the red silk. He didn't know what kind of cloth it was made of, but it was very soft and smooth. "What kind of cloth is this?" Xinyu observed the red silk in his hands. It looked like silk, but it wasn't exactly the same. It was softer and more flexible than silk, and it was very comfortable to touch. The red silk passed through his slender fingers, which made his hands look fairer. Shang Junlin's eyes darkened as he held the red silk and Xinyu's hands together. "I asked Meng Chong to find it from the storehouse." Shang Junlin rubbed the skin on Xinyu's wrists. Meng Chong found several bolts. "If a Yu likes it, I asked Meng Chong to send it to Yuzhang Palace. Your Majesty used such a good cloth to tie my hands." Xinyu cast a sidelong glance at him. "Red suits a Yu very well. I asked the clothing bureau to make clothes for a Yu to wear for me. How about it?" Xinyu was about to say something, but Shang Junlin slowly added, "You can only wear it for me to see." Chapter 193. Your Majesty, why do you care who I wear my clothes for? Because this kind of cloth is most suitable to be made into close-fitting clothes. Naturally, it can only be shown to me, Shang Junlin answered seriously. Xinyu pinched his arm. Your Majesty, why don't you ask the clothing bureau to make it for you? You reminded me. When the time comes, I will ask the clothing bureau to make a set for me and a you to wear it together. Your Majesty also wears red. Xinyu raised his head and looked at Shang Junlin. He rarely saw Shang Junlin wearing any color other than black. In fact, Shang Junlin was very suitable for black. The man was tall and had a cold face. When he wore a black imperial robe, he had an oppressive aura. Xinyu liked Shang Junlin very much. However, this didn't prevent him from wanting to see Shang Junlin wearing other colors. Different colors gave people different feelings. Xinyu imagined Shang Junlin wearing a red robe. It would definitely bring a different sensory stimulation. You wants to see me wearing red? Xinyu nodded. I allow it. Xinyu was stunned for a moment. Then he realized that Shang Junlin was talking about wearing a red robe. Commoners all wear red when they get married. It's normal for you to like it. Your Majesty, why did you suddenly mention this? I just thought that Your Majesty would definitely look good in red. What does it have to do with commoners getting married? Shang Junlin smiled but didn't say anything. Xinyu raised his hand. Speaking of which, on the day I entered the palace, Your Majesty also wore a black robe. Shang Junlin grabbed his hand and kissed it. Yes, most of the imperial robes are black. The details are slightly different. On that day, the robes were embroidered with red and gold threads. At that time, Xinyu had just entered the palace, so he didn't pay attention to these things. Later, because he fainted, he didn't pay attention to these things. Thinking of this, he opened his mouth and asked, when I entered the palace, I suddenly fainted. Was it related to the person who arranged this assassination? It had been a year since the incident. Shang Junlin didn't talk about it, and Xinyu didn't ask about it either. It wasn't until later that he encountered a similar incident in the Tsangchi mountain. I originally thought that they were targeting you because of me. Now, it seems like that's not the case. No, I should say that it's not completely the case. I've already investigated the person who did it that day. According to the confession, the person who's more suspicious is the person standing behind King Yu. However, I can't rule out the possibility that what you said is true. Shang Junlin's memory of that night was especially vivid. After changing more than half of the palace staff in Yuzhang Palace, the same thing never happened again. Maybe I'm thinking too much. Unless they can predict the future and predict that I'll enter the palace and set up an ambush early in the palace. The palace is not like other places. If they set up an ambush at the last minute, it will definitely attract the attention of others. Xin Yu denied this conjecture. The person behind King Yu has been caught. I've handed the person over to Fang Jun. In a few days, there should be a result. This year's New Year is really chaos. Not only did the ministers not enjoy the New Year's holiday that they should have, but they were also busy every day because of various things. Among them, the 3 cabinet ministers were the most mentally and physically exhausted. Needless to say, the Prime Minister and Fang Jun, Shang Junlin would hand over everything to them. The other cabinet minister, who was born in an aristocratic family, also needed to be busy with various things. Almost everything that happened in the imperial court had to go through the cabinet ministers, including King Yu's rebellion and the palace banquet assassination. Although Shang Junlin had handed the matter over to the Prime Minister and Fang Jun, it did not mean that Duan Daren could completely stay out of it. What should be understood and what should be followed up? Nothing could be left behind. Because these 2 matters involved too much, the aristocratic family officials and the humble family officials had to put down their grudges and deal with this matter together first. Political fights were fine, but after these troubles were solved, they would stop fighting. Without the upper-level officials who were in cahoots with the northern desert people, the atmosphere in the officialdom changed. Although there were some small conflicts, the overall atmosphere was still very harmonious. He Qingyu, Fang Jiai, and the others quickly gained a foothold in the northern desert. Jiang Huiqing should have been like them, shining in the northern desert. However, the emperor gave a secret order, so he had to change his appearance, hide his identity, and go to the northern desert. Other than He Qingyu, no one else knew about this for the time being. The assassination had not yet spread to the northern desert, but the news of the King of Yu's rebellion had already spread throughout the Great Huan. The movements of the imperial court were too big, so it was hard not to know. Especially after the King of Yu and the people behind him were arrested, the imperial court had no more misgivings. They issued orders everywhere to encircle and annihilate the remnants of the rebels. If they encountered them, they could be executed on the spot. There were also remnants of these people in the Subei army. He Qingyu had borrowed a small group of soldiers from the Subei army to begin a search in the territory of the Subei army. Under his and Jiang Huiqing's cooperation, they had successfully dealt with quite a few of the forces that the imperial court had ordered to exterminate. Sometimes He Qingyu and Jiang Huiqing would work together with the Northern Desert Army. The Northern Desert officials were used to the 2 of them disappearing together and reappearing together a few days later. They thought that the 2 of them were trying to accumulate more merits, so the officials who were on good terms with the 2 of them often teased them. But no one knew that their true goal was to make Jiang Huiqing disappear from the public eye for a while. Jiang Huiqing hadn't been in the northern desert for long and hadn't done anything particularly eye-catching. Others might not have paid much attention to his sudden disappearance, but the officials who had come with him were different, especially those who had a certain degree of friendship with him. Jiang Huiqing's departure this time wasn't just a day or 2. It was easy to cover up for a short period of time, but it was easy to raise suspicions if it took too long. Thus they arranged a play where one person was seriously injured and one person substituted for the other. As usual, He Qingyu and Jiang Huiqing led the Northern Desert Army together. Less than 2 days later, He Qingyu appeared at the entrance of the yamen, carrying the bloodied Jiang Huiqing. What's going on? The young official who had just been demoted didn't have time to think. He hurriedly called for people to come forward and help Jiang Huiqing out of He Qingyu's arms. Several people helped He Qingyu into the yamen. Quickly call a doctor. After a busy period, the two were settled down. The officials also learned the whole story from He Qingyu, who was still conscious. They had misjudged and were injured by the traitors. He Qingyu's injury was relatively light, so it didn't affect his work after being bandaged. Jiang Huiqing's injury was more serious. After the doctor examined him, he was still unconscious. Huiqing was injured so badly because he took a hit from me. This was the first time the usually steady person had shown a sign of panic. The officials who were familiar with them were very uncomfortable. Jiang Darren is blessed by the heavens. Nothing will happen to him. Yes, we'll invite the best doctor in the northern desert. If it really doesn't work, we'll submit a memorial and ask His Majesty to send an imperial physician. Don't worry too much. Nothing will happen. You're also injured. Take care of yourself. I know. He Qingyu wiped his face. The man who had always cared about his image couldn't hide his disappointment. Since Huiqing was injured because of me, I should take good care of him before he recovers. I'll bring him to my fu and take care of him until he recovers. Everyone knew that he had a good relationship with Jiang Huiqing. After something like this happened, he must be upset. Seeing that he wanted to bring Jiang Huiqing back to his fu, they didn't dissuade him. What's more, he was willing. What was the use of dissuading him? It would be annoying for no reason. Like this, He Qingyu brought Jiang Huiqing back to his fu. Along with him was the doctor who treated Jiang Huiqing. No one noticed that a few days later, an inconspicuous carriage drove out of the side door of He Fu. Inside the carriage was the heavily injured and unconscious Jiang Huiqing. The carriage drove all the way to an inconspicuous residence outside the city and stopped. Jiang Huiqing dismounted. Inside was the person who had been waiting for him for a long time. Sir, the travel permit and the relevant documents have been prepared. Jiang Huiqing changed his clothes and fixed his appearance. After half an hour, he looked at himself in the bronze mirror. It was both familiar and unfamiliar. Your Excellency, when you reach the northern desert, you can take the token and go to this place. There will be people waiting for you there. If you need anything, you can send the people there. This is a map of the northern desert. We have marked the places with our people. Jiang Huiqing memorized the places marked on the map. When he set off, he didn't bring it with him. Some things were safer to keep in mind than to bring it with you. The news of the northern desert was sent back to the capital through the hidden dragon guards. Xinyu also received news of the northern desert from Minghua. Who came up with this idea? First impressions are the strongest. Let others see that he was seriously injured. Then, in the name of recuperating, he lived in seclusion. This greatly reduced the possibility of suspicion. It was He Qingyu. He submitted a memorial to ask for forgiveness. Shang Junlin took out a memorial from a stack of memorials and handed it to Xinyu. Jiang Huiqing told him about the plan. Xinyu flipped open the memorial and skimmed through it. He didn't say it clearly, but He Qingyu guessed it. That's right. I asked the hidden dragon guards to keep an eye on him. If he does anything. Shang Junlin's voice turned cold. Xinyu didn't doubt that if He Qingyu did something that he shouldn't do, Shang Junlin would directly order the hidden dragon guards to punish him. Xinyu placed the memorial back on the table. He thought of something else and said, "Since your Majesty sent Jiang Huiqing to do this, you must have confirmed that there is no problem with Jiang Huiqing's identity. Your Majesty, can you tell me what you found out? His background is very simple. It's no different from what we found out previously. If you insist on it, his teacher seems to have been an official in the imperial court. During the time of the previous emperor, the imperial court was very chaotic. There were many officials who resigned or were dismissed. For now, we can't confirm which kind of teacher his teacher was." Oh. Xinyu lowered his eyes and pondered. Although Jiang Huiqing was his right-hand man in his previous life, Xinyu didn't know much about his past. Xinyu would never force others to talk about things that they didn't want to talk about. He wasn't that curious. He asked today because he wanted to take advantage of Shang Junlin's investigation. Speaking of this, we have found out the identity of the person behind King Yu. Why don't you make a guess? Shang Junlin held Xinyu's wrist and pulled him to sit beside him. It must be related to the previous emperor. I'm not familiar with the officials during the previous emperor's reign. Your Majesty, if you ask me to guess, I really can't guess anything. It's Grand Tutor Zeng who was demoted by the previous emperor because of a small matter. I have suspected so many people, but I have never suspected him. Wasn't Grand Tutor Zeng killed during his demotion? Xinyu was surprised. He had heard about this matter before. After Grand Tutor Zeng was killed, the previous emperor was very angry. It was rare for him to wake up from his absurdity. He reorganized the imperial court and imprisoned the officials who killed Grand Tutor Zeng because of personal grudges. This brought about a short period of peace in the imperial court. Now I am very suspicious. Was the previous emperor really muddle-headed, or was he pretending to be muddle-headed? If he was really muddle-headed, why would he arrange such a meticulous backup plan? If he was faking it, what was his motive? Chapter 194. The late emperor had passed away, and everything that happened in the past had dissipated like smoke. It was very difficult to figure out this problem. After all, no one was the late emperor himself, so no one knew what he was thinking. Shang Junlin also knew that it was useless to think too much about this problem, so he quickly returned to the topic. This Grand Tutor Zeng, I have had contact with him before. He was a rare good official. When the late emperor was not so absurd, they had a harmonious relationship. Later, the late emperor believed in treacherous officials, and their relationship slowly drifted apart. I also remember that this Grand Tutor Zeng had a good reputation among the people. After he was killed by treacherous officials, many people spontaneously worshipped him. There was even a great scholar who wrote an article saying that the last light in the imperial court had been extinguished. This matter was widely discussed in the capital. Even Xinyu, who lived deep in the marquis mansion, heard a thing or two. Later on, Xinyu had his own power and roughly understood what happened in the imperial court. His memory of Grand Tutor Zeng was especially deep. Shang Junlin. If he didn't die at that time, then the authenticity of the murder has yet to be investigated. The late emperor did kill many people in the imperial court for him, including treacherous officials and some innocent people. Xinyu. What about the dossier from that year? What was written on it? Shang Junlin. After Fang Jun found out the identity of the person behind the scenes, he immediately went to look at the dossier. The records were just like what I said before. Grand Tutor Zeng was already a dead man. Xinyu. No wonder we couldn't find him before. A dead person naturally wouldn't be placed on the list of suspects. When Grand Tutor Zeng died, Your Majesty had already stood out in the imperial court. Could it be that the late emperor began to suspect him at that time? How did he know who would ascend the throne in the end? Shang Junlin. I spent most of my time at the border, so I didn't know much about the late emperor's thoughts. When the incident with Grand Tutor Zeng happened, I was far away at the border. When I came back, everything was already settled. As for the backup plans left behind by the late emperor, I didn't know about them at first. It was only after the assassination attempt that I slowly found out that the things the late emperor left behind were far more than I imagined. Xinyu. According to what you said, if he wanted to appoint the Prince of Yu as the new monarch, he could have given the position of crown prince to him in advance. But he didn't. From beginning to end, Emperor Xian never agreed to appoint a crown prince. If there was another crown prince, it would be much more troublesome for Shang Junlin to inherit the throne. However, the previous emperor didn't. As the only legitimate son of the previous emperor, Shang Junlin naturally inherited the throne of the Great Huan dynasty. Not to mention, he also had outstanding military achievements and held most of the military power in the Great Huan dynasty. The other princes were no match for him. Moreover, Grand Tutor Zeng, why didn't Teacher Tan and the others know his true identity? Why was he never willing to show his true face in front of his subordinates? Because he couldn't. If a dead person reappeared in the world, it would definitely attract a lot of unnecessary trouble. How did Lord Feng find out his true identity? Also, he shouldn't have used his original appearance. Xinyu asked. If Grand Tutor Zeng had used his original appearance, He should have been recognized when he was first caught. Although it had been more than 10 years since the incident, Grand Tutor Zeng had left a deep impression in the hearts of the people. When Lord Fong had just entered the imperial court, Grand Tutor Zeng was still active in the court. It was said that Lord Fong had almost entered Grand Tutor Zeng's tutelage. This matter was also a coincidence. It just so happened that on the day Fong Jun was interrogated, an imperial physician came to the prison to test medicine, and saw traces of the medicine used on Grand Tutor Zeng's face. After his appearance recovered, Fong Jun recognized him at a glance. Didn't Lord Fong get a fright? No matter who saw a person who should have been dead for many years appear in front of them, it was impossible for them to remain calm. Yes, if it weren't for this incident, the true identity of the person behind the scenes wouldn't have been so easy to find out. After the true identity of the person behind the scenes was announced, the entire imperial court was shocked. Those who entered the imperial court as officials more or less knew a bit about the previous emperor's era, not to mention the shocking matter of Grand Tutor Zeng. What kind of person was Grand Tutor Zeng? He was a clear stream in the later years of the previous emperor's reign, a good official praised by countless scholars and literati. Now that they were told that Grand Tutor Zeng stood behind the King of Yu and helped him plot a rebellion, many people's first reaction was disbelief. Is there some kind of misunderstanding? Grand Tutor Zeng lived an honest life and worked hard for the Great Huan dynasty. After being demoted, he was killed by a traitor. Now you're saying that he's not dead? Not only is he not dead, but he also committed serious crimes such as assassination and rebellion. I don't understand why. Why do you have so many whys? If you want to know, you can go to the Ministry of Justice's prison and ask him. Maybe you can get some useful information from him. The ministers of the imperial court, including Fong Jun, were all deeply puzzled. Unlike the others, Fong Jun could ask the person in question face to face. In the Ministry of Justice's prison, Grand Tutor Zeng was tied to a pillar. Fong Jun sat across from him, his mood complicated. He had once envied Grand Tutor Zeng's character, fantasizing that if Grand Tutor Zeng hadn't been killed by a traitor, the turmoil in the Great Huan dynasty would have been reduced. Now this person had really appeared in front of him again, but in such a way. Grand Tutor, why are you doing this? Fong Jun used the previous address. Grand Tutor. Grand Tutor Zeng was in a daze. It's been a long time since someone called me that. Why are you doing this? I'm just following orders. Whose orders? Fong Jun frowned. Other than the previous emperor, who else could it be? Grand Tutor Zeng laughed softly, his voice hoarse. Was it the previous emperor who asked you to overturn the Great Huan dynasty? Why would he do this? Fong Jun didn't understand. Who knows? He's the ruler and I'm the subject. I have to obey his orders, don't I? Just like right now, no matter what Shang Junlin wants you to do, no matter how outrageous it is, you can only do it. Grand Tutor Zeng's expression was strange, as if he was laughing, but also as if he was mocking something. Fong Jun's expression turned serious. His Majesty is His Majesty. He wouldn't do anything to harm the Great Huan dynasty. Right now this official is interrogating you. Don't involve other places. What orders did the previous emperor give you? Don't you already know? To help the King of Yu ascend the throne. Grand Tutor Zeng's mocking smile widened. Why does official Fong keep asking? I already told you, but you don't believe me. Then tell me, what crime does your emperor want to accuse me of? What do you want me to confess? Fong Jun wasn't angered, his voice still calm. Is the He family also your people? You mean the He family that was stupid enough to send their entire family to prison? Grand Tutor Zeng sneered. Just a stupid dog. Why did they attack Guijun? Fong Jun glanced at him without emotion. Don't tell me this was also the previous emperor's order. You've already said everything. What else does official Fong want me to say? This interrogation seemed to have yielded a lot of information, but in reality, there was very little that was useful. After sorting out the confession and the interrogation process, Fong Jun sent it to the Imperial Palace. Imperial Study. Fong Jun knelt on the ground. Eunuch Meng took the confession from his hands and handed it to Shang Junlin with both hands. Shang Junlin picked up the confession, opened it, and read 10 lines at a glance. His eyes darkened slightly. Make arrangements, Zhen wants to see him. Your Majesty? Fang Jun raised his head in surprise. Shang Junlin rubbed the confession in his hands, his voice without the slightest trace of emotion. There are some things that Zhen wants to confirm personally. Fang Jun knew that once Shang Junlin made up his mind, he would not be swayed by others, so he swallowed the words of dissuasion that were on the tip of his tongue. This subject obeys. Fang Jun went to the Ministry of Justice in advance to make arrangements. The Minister of Justice walked beside him and was quite puzzled. Why does Your Majesty suddenly want to come? How can we, as subjects, interfere with what Your Majesty wants to do? Fang Jun did not turn his head and continued to make arrangements. No, the Minister of Justice's tone was anxious. This person planned and tried to rebel. If this lowly official is saying if something happens to Your Majesty, can you and I bear the responsibility? Therefore, we have to make arrangements in advance and nip all possible dangers in the bud. Don't you think that if His Majesty does not come, all the dangers can be nipped at the source? The Minister of Justice said faintly. Fang Jun stopped. Then you will send a memorial to persuade His Majesty? Forget it, let's make arrangements. The Minister of Justice wiped his face and joined Fang Jun's action. The Ministry of Justice was busy because they would soon welcome the Emperor. I always feel that there is something neglected in this matter. I plan to meet Grand Tutor Zeng in person. In Yuzhong Palace, Shang Junlin told Xinyu about his plan. Prince Yu is also locked up in the Ministry of Justice, right? Xinyu poured a cup of tea for Shang Junlin. Your Majesty, try it. It's new tea that was just delivered. Shang Junlin took the teacup and took a sip. Yes, why is you suddenly asking about him? The person behind the scenes has been caught. Shouldn't Your Majesty deal with Prince Yu? Xinyu's hand that was holding the teacup tightened. Yes, he was kept to lure out the person behind the scenes. Now that the person has been caught, there is no need to keep him. Shang Junlin did not have any good impression of Prince Yu. After listening to Shang Junlin's words, Xinyu fell silent. Noticing his strangeness, Shang Junlin put down the teacup, lifted Xinyu's chin, and said in a dangerous voice, "Are you not happy?" Xinyu shook his head. I always feel that things are going too smoothly. After going through so much trouble to catch the person, it was not smooth. Xinyu also knew this, but he was a little uneasy. Don't think too much. I won't let him escape again. Shang Junlin let go of his hand and stood up. I heard from the Ministry of Justice that Shang Junyu's situation is not good now. If you is really concerned, then go with me. When does Your Majesty plan to go? In 2 days. Xinyu stood up and walked to Shang Junlin's side. Does Prince Yu know that the person supporting him is Grand Tutor Zeng? Shang Junlin. It seems that he doesn't know. He only knows that the former emperor left him a lot of things. But so far only a small part of these things has reached his hands. According to his confession, he was forced to revolt this time. Among the troops that were wiped out, less than 10% listened to his orders. Xinyu. From the looks of it, rather than saying that the King of Yu is rebelling, it's better to say that the person behind the King of Yu is using his name to raise an army. If that's the case, Grand Tutor Zeng's true purpose is open for discussion. Is he really doing all this just to send the King of Yu to the throne? Definitely not. Shang Junlin would never easily believe a person's words. Perhaps in the past, he simply obeyed the orders of the late emperor, and took the opportunity to assist the King of Yu in ascending the throne. However, after holding power for so many years, no one can guarantee that his thoughts haven't changed. Power was the thing that could change a person's mind the most. Chapter 195. Your Majesty, are you saying that Grand Tutor Zeng is disloyal? There is indeed such a possibility. If our conjecture is correct, the people left behind by the previous emperor are for Grand Tutor Zeng to order around. For a person who has always been in charge of his own affairs to suddenly hand over the power in his hands, he definitely wouldn't be so willing. Xinyu thought of the mysterious force that appeared beside King Yu in his previous life. He used to think that the force helped King Yu because he saved young Master He. It seemed that he was wrong from the beginning. The force helped because Shang Junyue was King Yu. Young master, he was just an excuse to fool them, and even King Yu. In his previous life, he had been by King Yu's side, dealing with all kinds of matters for him. He was sure that the mysterious faction had never revealed themselves, and the person behind the scenes had never appeared. Moreover, from King Yu's attitude, it was not hard to see that he was extremely respectful to that person, and there was even a trace of undetectable fear. Shin Yu felt that King Yu might not know who the real master of the mysterious force that helped him was until the end. If you want to confirm it, you will know when you see the person, Shang Junlin said lightly. The date of going to the Ministry of Justice was 3 days later. These days, Shin Yu had asked the people of Yinghua to pay attention to the movements of Count North's residents, especially Shin Qingran. As the protagonist of the story, Shin Yu would not take it lightly. There was nothing unusual in Count North's residence for the time being. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Shin Yu changed into casual clothes and got on the carriage to the Ministry of Justice with Shang Junlin. This trip was light and not many people knew about it. The Minister of Justice had prepared in advance. When they arrived, he directly led the carriage to the prison. Who's the person sitting in the carriage? Why is the minister personally leading the carriage? Under the eaves, several low-ranking officials saw this scene and were curious. No matter who it is, you and I can't casually talk about him. Shin Yu sat in the carriage. The Minister of Justice reported the progress of the case to Shang Junlin outside the carriage. Shang Junlin held Shin Yu's hand and whispered in his ear, "Today, I will vent your anger for you." What? Shin Yu did not react for a while. Will you be afraid? Shang Junlin did not answer Shin Yu's question. Shin Yu was even more confused. Afraid of what? Your Majesty is talking about what will happen later? Yes, interrogation of the prisoner may be tortured. Your Majesty, do you think I'm such a coward? Shin Yu pressed his finger against the man's broad palm. Your Majesty, you don't have to worry about me. Shin Yu's heart. Shang Junlin's palm. Shin Yu's hand. Shin Yu's hand touched. Shin Yu's palm's hand. Shin Yu's hand was itchy. He withdrew his hand. Your Majesty can do whatever you want. I didn't come with your Majesty to restrict your Majesty's actions. I know. No matter what happens later, you can't be afraid of me. Shang Junlin held Shin Yu's hand tightly. I won't. Not long after, the carriage stopped. As before, Shang Junlin got off the carriage first, followed by Shin Yu. Shang Junlin carried Shin Yu out. He ignored the Minister of Justice's stunned gaze and said, "Take me there." The Minister of Justice quickly restrained his expression. Yes. He knew that His Majesty would come, but he did not expect that His Majesty would bring His Majesty with him. When he saw Shin Yu coming out of the carriage, his first reaction was shock. Why did His Majesty bring His Majesty with him? At present, everyone in the court knew that the Emperor doted on His Majesty and discussed important matters of court with him. It wasn't that the officials didn't want to object, but Shin Yu had grasped the degree so well that they couldn't find a reasonable place to refute. If His Majesty brought His Majesty to other places, the Minister of Justice could understand. But why did His Majesty bring His Majesty to the prison of the Ministry of Justice? Suppressing the various thoughts in his heart, the Minister of Justice obediently led the way with his head lowered. He was just curious, but he did not dare to ask. The structure of the prison of the Ministry of Justice was different from that of the secret prison. The Minister of Justice led the two through the prison cells and came to the innermost part. The criminals who had committed capital crimes were locked up here. The jailers who guarded here were selected in advance. They knew Shang Junlin's identity and did not dare to neglect him. They took out the key to open the door and brought the prisoner to the interrogation room. Grand Tutor Zeng was tied up. 2 jailers stood on either side of him. This was to prevent him from suddenly attacking people. There has been a lot of commotion in the prison these days. I was wondering what had happened. It turns out that His Majesty came personally. Grand Tutor Zeng raised his head and looked at the man sitting opposite him. Jin didn't come here to reminisce about the past. I know, Grand Tutor Zeng nodded. His Majesty is very busy every day. It is not easy for him to take time out to see me. But His Majesty can come alone. But why did His Majesty bring the person sleeping next to him? The prison is not like other places. It would be bad if he was frightened. The Minister of Justice stood respectfully behind Shang Junlin. When he heard this, he was about to scold him for being rude when he heard His Majesty speak. You know my identity. Grand Tutor Zeng snorted. Who doesn't know His Majesty Shen Guijun, who is the most favored in the harem? Shen Yu. It's good that you know. I don't have to introduce myself again. Since you know who I am, why don't you solve my doubts? Why did you attack me again and again? Grand Tutor Zeng. Because His Majesty likes His Majesty. Shen Yu. Is this also the late Emperor's intention? Grand Tutor Zeng. You can think of it that way. Shen Yu. Since you are so obedient to the late Emperor, why didn't you hand over the power left by the late Emperor to the king of you? When the late Emperor chose you, did he think that a loyal dog would betray its master one day? His Majesty is really eloquent. Grand Tutor Zeng turned to look at Shang Junlin. His Majesty just let him climb over your head like this. There is no need for a prisoner like you to worry about the matters between Zhen and His Majesty. As long as His Majesty is happy, Zhen will let him do whatever he wants. Shang Junlin said indifferently. As long as His Majesty is happy. Seeing that his instigation was unsuccessful, Grand Tutor Zeng resentfully withdrew his gaze. He can't even protect himself. Why worry about other people's matters? The Minister of Justice couldn't help but whisper. Except for the beginning, Grand Tutor Zeng's attitude was still quite cooperative. He would answer all of Shang Junlin's questions. These were the results of Fang Jun's interrogation. Shang Junlin asked again to lower Grand Tutor Zeng's guard. He wanted him to think that this was all they wanted to know. In the end, Shang Junlin stood up. Zhen has always been curious. When the late Emperor was alive, he didn't seem to care much about Shang Junyue. Why did he leave him so many things before his death? If he really wanted to make Shang Junyue the emperor, he could have made Shang Junyue the crown prince. Naturally, it's because the Prince of Yu is the late emperor's son. Grand Tutor Zeng answered without hesitation. The late emperor had so many princes. Why was the Prince of Yu the only exception? If Shen Yu remembered correctly, other than Shang Junlin and Shang Junyue, there were other princes alive before the late emperor died. Shang Junlin only killed a few who were good at seizing power. He didn't touch those who weren't competitive or were too young. How can we, as subjects, guess the late emperor's thoughts? I was just following the late emperor's orders. Zhen will take it that you really don't know. Shang Junlin walked slowly to the rack where the instruments of torture were placed. He took a soft bone whip from the rack. Now Zhen will ask you, were you the one who gave the order to harm the noble prince? Don't use the late emperor to fool Zhen. The late emperor is already dead. He couldn't have foreseen the noble prince's existence. Zhen will only ask, were you the one who gave the order? Yes. Grand Tutor Zeng closed his eyes in the face of the imposing man. Very good. As soon as he finished speaking, a sharp gust of wind swept past. Slap. The bone whip had barbs on it. With one lash, the skin and flesh were torn open. No one expected Shang Junlin to suddenly make a move. The Minister of Justice widened his eyes in shock as he looked at the man wielding the whip. Shen Yu suddenly remembered that on the way here, Shang Junlin had said that he would avenge him. The smell of blood spread. Big beads of sweat rolled down Grand Tutor Zeng's forehead. It was painful. 3 times. Zhen will remember them all. Shang Junlin's tone was cold. Grand Tutor Zeng, who was very close to Shang Junlin, could clearly feel the cold murderous intent from the man. It seemed that compared to the rebellion, Shang Junlin cared more about the fact that Shang Junlin had injured his noble prince. The bone spike was soaked in salt water. Under the piercing pain, all of his consciousness was used to resist the pain. After being locked up in prison, those people had tortured him many times in order to get useful information out of him. However, none of them had caused him to suffer as much pain as today. The wound was burning hot. Shang Junlin had used his skills and specifically chose the most painful place to strike. What he wanted was to make the other party feel unbearable pain. Your Majesty is really a sentimental person. Grand Tutor Zeng clenched his teeth. His voice trembled slightly. Zhen warned you before not to touch the noble prince. It seems that Grand Tutor Zeng didn't take it to heart. Grand Tutor Zeng thought of the miserable end of those people who had been arranged to deal with Shenyu and fell silent. Noble prince, this. Wasn't he here to interrogate about the rebellion? Why didn't His Majesty care about this important matter at all? The Minister of Justice couldn't help but ask in a low voice. Shenyu was only shocked for a moment. When he heard the Minister of Justice's question, he got up and walked to Shang Junlin's side. He hooked his finger and said, "Your Majesty." Shang Junlin threw away the bone whip in disgust and held Shenyu's hand. His fingers were slightly cold. Shang Junlin turned his head and looked at Shenyu for a while. When he saw that there was no fear on his face, he was slightly relieved. "You were ordered by the late emperor to assist the king of Yu to ascend the throne. However, you who had been in power for many years, changed your mind halfway. Instead of wholeheartedly serving the king of Yu, it's better to slightly change the situation. It's still you who helped the king of Yu to ascend the throne. However, the one who can really make the decision is you, who controls the forces left behind by the late emperor." Shenyu's indifferent voice smashed into Grand Tutor Zeng's chest. Grand Tutor Zeng's mind was mostly occupied by the pain. He had no time to spare more energy to deal with Shenyu's question. "Yes, you're right. Obviously, those forces are in my hands. Why should I lower myself to the king of Yu? In fact, I don't mind telling you that the late emperor chose me to do this, because he thought that I wouldn't be tempted by power. However, he never asked me if I was willing or not. I'm not willing. I have a bright future. Why should I be a dead person who can't see the light of day?" Grand Tutor Zeng looked at Shang Junlin's face, which was somewhat similar to the late emperor's, and almost couldn't control his emotions. "If you really didn't want to, you could have refused at that time." Shenyu's tone was calm. He wasn't affected by Grand Tutor Zeng's attitude. "It's useless. Like I said, the late emperor was the emperor, and I was the subject. If I didn't agree, then I would have really died. It's said that the late emperor was angry because of my death. How many people know that the person who was sent to kill me wasn't some treacherous subject, but the late emperor? The late emperor wanted his own bloodline to become the master of the great Huan country. I didn't want to. Unfortunately, he didn't completely let down his guard against me until he died. If not, why would I waste so much time on the king of Yu? Now that the forces under my command have been almost wiped out, and I'm locked up in prison, I know that I can't escape this disaster. Perhaps I shouldn't have chosen this path in the first place. It's better to die cleanly than to die now." Grand Tutor Zeng glanced at Shenyu. The young man was dressed in white, and his temperament was like bamboo. Standing in the dark prison, he didn't fit in with his surroundings. He was just like the old him who was able to protect his own heart, even when he was surrounded by treacherous people. Grand Tutor Zeng lowered his head and looked at Shenyu. He remembered that he used to be high-spirited and vigorous. He was able to form his own faction in the materialistic officialdom. He wasn't affected by external factors, and his reputation spread far and wide. Who wouldn't praise him for his strength of character? In the end, he became the kind of person that he used to hate the most. Don't you want to know about the late emperor's other arrangements? I can tell you what I know. In exchange, I only ask one thing. The mistake I made was my own, and it has nothing to do with Grand Tutor Zeng. The dead shouldn't appear in this world again. That you're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.